It is known as one of the finest circuits to grace the motor racing calendar. 1.2 miles will be the race distance, will be the track distance today here at Brands Hatch over in the United Kingdom for round number 4 of the VRCE Classic Indycar Series. Hello and welcome one and all to RaceSpot TV on the iRacing Esports Network to yet another presentation of a series that so far this season has not failed to excite time after time again. I'm Nolan Rempel, and well, with me today in the booth is going to be Rob Howden with the one and only Will Vincent behind the cameras in the producer's chair for today. Rob, this is definitely going to be one of the more technical tracks we're going to see on the season, definitely one of the shortest as well, and well, I think it's safe to say this race will definitely be one interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the track itself, Nolan, is going to be what will be part of the storyline. We come off that tremendous race that we had at Phoenix International Raceway to really what is kind of a short track of sprint circuits anyways, because it's so tight here, not a lot of place to pass, only 7 corners around this 1.2 mile track. That's what's going to make things exciting. Hard to overtake. Drivers are going to have to maybe use that bumper for the front wing a little bit potentially as well. You have to make sure that they deal with lap traffic correctly. It'll be interesting to see how all the storylines start to develop as we get ready to roll.
Warm-up is currently underway, and well, while we wait for these final 2.5 minutes to round on down, there is an onboard lap guide presented by the virtual race car engineer software, which will be coming up for you here in just a moment.
Welcome to the United Kingdom for your 2020 Classic IndyCar Series race at Brands Hatch. Robert Grosser will be giving you a trip around the Indy layout of the iconic track. Going into the Paddock Hill bend, we can push the car through the bumpy turn. Exiting downhill, we can use the outside of the curb to get the most out of the track. Entering the tight hairpin, we can use the hill to our advantage and brake later than normal. At the Graham Hill bend, we can really push the car through the runoff on exit, but watch out for an off-track warning as if the exit is misjudged. We will be going full speed through the S-bend curves, followed by a heavy braking zone. This braking zone will cause a lot of issues as there is not much room for error. Coming out of Clark Curve, we have to be careful of the car getting light on exit. This will send the driver into the spin if not careful. This has been a quick 37-lap track tour brought to you by Robert Grosser and Josh Baird. I hope you enjoy the race.
And that was your lap guide here around the Brands Hatch circuit for the Indy layout. Definitely a very short lap here. We've been seeing pole position set just shy of the 35-second bracket. The pole position lap today was a 36.032, so extremely short laps justifying the 165 lap distance. Despite that lap count well over the 100 bracket, well, we're not going to be seeing this race going longer than an hour and 50 minutes, so it's going to be definitely a short one. Fuel winner looking at about 59 laps. Just a few seconds left now before we go to the grid, Rob.
I tell you, I'm on my edge of my seat right now because I want to see how these first couple of laps play down. I've had a chance to turn a bunch of laps here at Brands Hatch myself in the F3 car. Struggled, of course, with Paddock Bend. Not fast enough through Druids. I've got to step things up in a big way, but this track is so busy, and I think especially with these Indy cars and the spec that they use for this particular series, it's going to be hectic. I think the first couple laps, people are going to have their elbows up. We'll see how things shake down, and then again, Nolan, as you said, it's a short lap. It's only a little over a mile long, this particular racetrack, this layout, and I think lap cars, as I said before, are going to come into play very, very early. Could see an early yellow. That'll be interesting as well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the warm-up session is now complete, so with all of this in mind and no doubt a very intense race up ahead of us, let's take things on over to your starting grid for today. And now for this one, it's going to be Jamie Wilson kicking things off on pole position. Joshua Chin lining up behind him in that first row down in second place. Lucas LaVille and Ethan Agan round off third and fourth. Robert Grosser rounds out the top 5. Logan Simmons beside him in sixth place in row number 3. Josh Baird and Jan Hoffman 7th and 8th. Rounding out the top 10 in row number 5 is Timo Isunimi and Liam Quinn. Johnny Garrett and Caleb Weekly in 11th and 12th. Tristan Hauser and Andrew Wood 13th and 14th. Randy Shoemake and Marshall Stanley 15th and 16th. Niall McBride and Jas Vandeven 17th and 18th. Hans Pitkinen and Franz Josef Stum in 19th and 20th, Jack Turner and Andrew Adair Saunders in 21st and 22nd, Daria Rikov and birthday boy Karsten Broadway in 24th place, Andrew Aitken and Art McEwen 25th and 26th, with Ryan Hellier in 27th place, rounding out the field for today. While this field is starting to roll, we do have a little announcement to give out, and well, first off, let's bring in the sponsor for today's race, the Virtual Race Car Engineer. It is a software package that includes the Setup Developer Tool and the Virtual Race Car Engineer, which assists both real and virtual race cars. The Setup Developer Tool walks the user through a step-by-step process of creating and customizing your very own personalized baseline setup. It does so by asking simple questions about the car type, track type, and behavior of the car on track. The Virtual Race Car Engineer further fine-tunes the baseline setup to get the most out of the car, offering whole lap and corner-specific advice. VRCE will get the very best out of your setup. Both the Setup Developer Tool and the Race Car Engineer software can be found in the link below, down in the description of this stream. Also, there's a special raffle going on during today's race, so enter this little draw by typing something, anything into the chat, and have yourself a chance to win a free key to the Virtual Race Car Engineer's software. We are accepting entrants until the checkered flag will be announcing the winner prior to the conclusion of today's broadcast. Now, it's the pace car to pull it off, and it's all in the hands of Jamie Wilson, who's on the loud pedal. Green flag drops. We're racing in the United Kingdom.
First run down through Paddock Hill, and again, Wilson, who did a great job there for Team Chimera. They went P1, P2 with Josh Chin into second. Your point leader slotting down, though. Big move to the inside, coming up to Druids for the first time. Contact further back. Driver going around, that's Liam Quinn in the number 27, another one of the Team Chimera drivers having trouble coming through Paddock Hill. But opening lap underway. Here's the replay for it, Nolan.
Liam Quinn having some misfortunes. There were some more cars that ended up going around up front as well. Down into turn number 2, there was Liam Quinn. Looked, he got shot to the back and nearly tipped that car over in the sand, actually. And there, well, there you can see Joshua Chin managed to get himself going. The other content was, well, further down in the order, about 10th place thereabouts. It caused a big check in turn 2, but we are clean and green nonetheless. So new leader in this race, it is Joshua Chin, looking to go 3 for 3 right now. Good start for him in this one.
Yeah, Joshua Chin has been on an absolute roll, as you said. Scored the victory in the first race at Fontana and came back with that impressive victory at Phoenix. Led 188 of the 200 laps to really dominate the action throughout the day. A much different circuit here, of course, as we now jump going in the clockwise direction. A short course here, the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch. But he seems to be able to handle any circuit right now. Noel, and that Team Chimera has been great out of the gate again here today.
It certainly has, so this is definitely what he's wanting to see to kick things off early for him in this race. And, well, you get an early lead and you can get yourself a very good run to the finish, because it's going to be just that much simpler, because it is very difficult to pass. One car around, huge crash in turn number 1. Jos Vandeven has gone off, one car flipping up and over. It was Marshall Stanley that actually flipped up into the catch fencing of turn number 1. Also collected was Tristan Hauser as well. It was a big crash, though, that sent the 25 machine up and over.
Yeah, and again, that's a basic issue we see there many, many times, do we not? And that's just that underbraking, where someone maybe being a little more tentative coming into Paddock Hill. They don't want to quite roll so much speed off the brake, or off the gas a little early, maybe on the brake a little too early as well, and a guy getting into it from behind. So I'm sure we've seen incidents like that many, many times before and will into the future, but tough for these drivers. Again, thinking about it, Nolan, so early in the race right now, just 4 laps in, what will be a long 165 lap race. This is not a time for being impatient. This is when you kind of settle right in as the guys working their way now through clearways.
Well, especially since it is such a difficult course to manage. Like, you just got to be so incredibly patient, because the only really good passing opportunities is down that pit straight, and of course down into turn number 2, actually, down the Pilgrims, or up the Pilgrims Rise, if you can get a good run out from Paddock Hill Bend. It's certainly a very intense one that drivers need to look out for as well. And, well, it's a good thing then that some drivers did manage to get themselves all sorted out throughout this field and battle on further behind. This is the battle for 16th place that just throttled their way through turn number 1. Andrew Adair Saunders trying to hold off Liam Quinn behind. He did have that issue. Lock up, though, up front from Franz Josef Stum, but side by side now for 16th place.
Well, this racetrack, I think, in the time I've had on it so far, the limited number of races I've run on it, really, you must you got to stay aggressive still. You have to be patient, as I said earlier, but you have to stay aggressive enough to the point where you're going to see what we just saw there, and that was pressuring the guy in front of you into making a mistake, because you can do that here. You're trying to carry so much momentum through all of these corners. All it takes is to go a little too deep on the brakes. The car will push wide on you, and drivers are able to capitalize. And we saw that there, a little issue up in Druids, a little wide on the exit. You lose that the exit speed. You can't get on the throttle early enough to get back on it. To get back down the hill, you lose a spot. So good move there for Quinn to get back up into position.
Bit of a slippy philosophy for 10th place. Neil McBride has put himself up into 9th position. Randy Shoemake trying to fend off Jan Hoffman, actually almost getting run over down through the Clark curve onto the pit straight once again. This is now the battle for 12th at the racetrack. Hoffman with a run, but tried to look to the inside, but wasn't close enough to make the dive into turn number 1. Very good on him to notice that. Now he might try to make the move down here. Hard on the brakes up the Pilgrim's Rise through turn 2 and Druids. He's going to make that move work, and now Shoemake might be under threat here for Ryan Hellier as well, who, might I add, started last place in the field. He's already up to 13th place.
That's the idea, man. Be patient early. Take your spots when you can, and just pick away at it. This part of the track's super tough. Through Surtees and McLaren, that's 4 and 5. Then you got to get on the brakes coming into clearways to get back out here to Clark Curve. It's such a tough part of this racetrack, and if you get too aggressive, too anxious on the wheel, you find yourself going around there. So far, some of these drivers, as you said, have done a good job working their way forward.
Indeed, some drivers doing a good job working their way forward as well, and some drivers still continue to work their way forward. Battle on for 7th place up in the order. Andrew Wood trying to close in to Caleb Weekly. They're currently throttling down through the Clark curve and trying to make something work. Wood still trying to find something. He's going to get a better drive, though, off that final corner from Caleb Weekly, and, well, this race has certainly been one that's going on for a while throughout the start of this race, and already Wood still looking to close in that gap. He's seeming to be very confident on the exit, and Weekly running off the circuit, and that might put them, it won't put the side-by-side down to turn number 2. Lockup from all 3 drivers in this field. Weekly's going to lose 2 spots.
Hold on here, folks, on lap number 9. Again, as we said, a lot of pressure being put on. Here's the replay now. It's Weekly in the yellow car. He's going to try to roll through Paddock Hill, and again, just gets a little too wide. You can see him going off, just starts to touch the outside there into the gravel, and a great move to the inside to get that spot. Again, Weekly went a little wide. Andrew Wood able to put the number 32 machine down the inside. And then Weekly again overcooked it into turn 2, which is Druids, and that allowed Johnny Garrett to come through in the number 68 as well. Again, that's what we're going to see a lot of here, I think, Noel. Not so much the fact that you're going to make this amazing overtake where you take over the position, big dive, brake move to the inside. It's more a fact of keeping the pressure, keeping it consistent, and then when that one mistake does come from your competition, you have to capitalize.
Jan Hoffman is in the pits after a spin out of the final corner. Just lost it all on his own, looped the back end around. It was a clean spin, but he brought it right down to the pits immediately afterwards. We were talking about how the estimated pit win was going to be about 59 laps. Well, we're on lap 11, so definitely not a scheduled stop. Ryan Hellier, another driver that was having a fantastic job, he actually also counted troubles at the exact same time because Dario Rikov, well, he got loose and Hellier drove right through the back of him, so that has bent up the suspension on Hellier's machine, who is also going to be having to, well, probably make an unscheduled stop here as well. Looking up front, though, battle for 4th is also on between Ethan Agan and Robert Groscher.
Yeah, no, and Ethan was very good in the practice sessions. I think we have an issue on the racetrack as well. Looks like Art McEwen may have wrecked himself as well over in Paddock Hill. Yeah, then DT is there, just going to come back on. I looked over to the left side of my screen, and it was a pretty big wreck here on board now with Art McEwen coming in. Contact from the back, hard to the barriers. Yeah, that's the part that I looked at. A few flips there for Art McEwen, who qualified a little further back in the field, was running in the 19th position. Trouble for him, though, in that particular corner. But that battle we saw before, Robert Grosser and Ethan Egan, as I was trying to say, Egan was super quick during the warm-up session, the practice earlier, qualified the top 5 and having a really strong run here. P4 against really some of the guns of this program. Joshua Chin leads. He's the point leader. Jamie Wilson was great at Phoenix. We know Lucas Laville, of course, multi-time winner in the series and victorious at Sebring earlier in the schedule. So Ethan Egan battling here with the top guns in this program.
Absolutely, and well, I didn't expect lap traffic to come into play this early, but already Joshua Chin is starting to try to dart his way through some lap traffic. He just managed to blitz by Dario Rikov behind as, well, it's been an interesting one for sure. This battle for 4th place is closing in on Rikov now. Robert Groscher still trying to close into Ethan Hagen in that number 20 machine. As well, there goes one car off. That's the 34 machine that's had some issues off of turn number 1. That's Franz Josef Stum. So going to take a ride on board with him. See what in the world happened to the number 34 machine. Was this more contact down into turn 1? Looks like he actually made the pass clean and lost the back end all in the zone on the exit. Very, very easy thing to do.
Yeah, that was just exit, throttle, oversteer. Tried to get on the throttle too early. Had pinched it down as tight as he could coming through that corner. And, of course, when you do that, you have so much wheel into it, you just can't manage that power that you're trying to roll out of that corner, and around it went pretty quickly. Give it up for Randy Shoemake, though. Gave him the room on the outsides, or the inside, rather, so not to get himself involved in that, because Randy could easily have got caught up in that. Again, working their way through Druids. Now there's the number 2 of Shoemake. A little bit of damage to the right front wing on that machine, so trouble here, and that's going to affect him aggressively at this particular track, because again, you're trying to carry a lot of speed through the corners. Going back on board with the number 93, your leader, Joshua Chin, and this was from the very top of the broadcast, Noel. We talked about the fact that being able to work your way through lap traffic was going to be crucial, and thus far, a pretty good run for Team Chimera's Joshua Chin, holding his teammate Jamie Wilson at bay.
Indeed, and well, this lap traffic is not helping. Chin lost a good while, lost probably about a good 0.3 of a second in just that final half of the lap alone, being held behind Randy Shoemake. So that's allowed Wilson to really close in this gap. Remember, though, these guys are teammates, so that's going to then beg the question: will Wilson be as desperate to go for that position? Because these guys, right now, Wilson knows that his teammate up there is in the points lead. So if anything, Wilson would actually want to keep him where he is so he can help Chin to continue to extend that lead out. Because right now they are pulling the gap over Lucas Laville down in 3rd place, which is exactly what they're wanting to see right now.
Well, so early in the race as well, just 17 laps into this first stint, again, 165 lapper. I expect we're going to see drivers pit somewhere around the 50 to 58 mark kind of thing. You don't want to go too early in the pit window, but you don't want to wait too late as well. It could depend, of course, on track position, if they're hooked up behind a lap car, whatever it may be. But I like what Wilson's doing right now. Nolan, he's in no real hurry. Hold on to your spot. He's running P2. Again, very early on in the first run. He sits 4th in points coming in, 69 points in a tie with Robert Grosser and Randy Shoemake. He's doing better than both of them right now, potentially able to catch up to Andrew Wood, who sits 3rd in points. Again, early in the season, we've got a long way to go in this particular program. At the end of this month, we go to Zolder. There's lots of races still to go, but I know Wilson does not want to see his teammate Chin get too far out in terms of the championship standings.
Randy Shoemake is currently having his own battle. Just got passed by Jack Turner up in the run to turn number 2. So Turner on the flies, he puts himself up into the top 15, which is about, just underneath the halfway point of this field of being in the top half. Shoemake now under fire from Franz Josef Stum, right behind him in the number 34 car, still trying to reel it in as well. It seems like a lot of drivers did have some troubles early on, and they've got Ethan Hagen right behind them looking to close the gap as well. Shoemake goes defensive. I was right on board of Stum. A little bit of a twitch from the wheel there. And Shoemake running a little bit wider off of turn number 1. It's not going to be a dive bomb, though, from Stum. There goes Ethan Hagen trying to work his way around the outside. So you still got to leave that traffic starting to dart their way through as well. Yeah,
it's 16th and 17th. Just kind of, they're trying to mind their P's and Q's, right? They don't want it. They realize the leaders are coming through, but they're still racing each other. So if an opportunity comes, they're going to want to take advantage of it. Great job for Ethan Hagen in the number 20. He was able to stay to the inside coming out of Druids. That gave him a better run down to Graham Hill Bend, which is crucial for him. You have to pick and choose. You have to be patient. He knows that Chin and Wilson and Laville are pulling away a little bit ahead of him. But in a race like this, where everybody's going to be dealing with lap traffic for the entire day, you can't look at this one particular holdup and say, man, I got to get by now. They're going to stretch away. We're going to potentially see some yellows. We'll see what happens. We have pit stops still coming. You know that lap traffic is going to be the order of the day. So be smart, pick and choose, make the passes when you can. Egan's doing a tremendous job in P4.
Absolutely he is, and this is exactly what he's wanting to see yet as, Franz Josef Stum still trying to find his way up there as looking back up now to that battle for 4th place. Ethan Hagen still on the charge up there in 4th. Dive bomb, though, from Franz Josef Stum behind on Randy Shoemake, and Shoemake is punted around by Logan Simmons, and Shoemake is going to actually hang on to that one. Brilliant save from the number 2, but that front wing and rear wing, well, they are not looking very pretty anymore.
I feel bad for Randy Shoemake because he's been doing so well in terms of trying to stay out of the way. Guys are coming through. We'll watch the replay again here. He's standing way to the outside of the racetrack. You know, he's got given the lane down the bottom. Sooner or later, you got to go to the apex. You're not going to hold the whole time. He's able to get through. Look at this late move down deep. Yeah, that didn't need to happen at all. Shoemaker done a great job. He had given the room for one driver to come through, was tucking it back to the apex to make sure he got through the corner cleanly and got cleared out from the driver from behind. That's a tough one for Randy Shoemaker for sure.
Absolutely is. Definitely not what he was wanting to see as well. Going to keep on with this little replay here as well. We're not going to go back to the live as well. I'll tell you what, that was definitely very unfortunate there for Shoemaker, but unfortunately that is racing. That's just the way that the cookie crumbles sometimes. You get these bad incidents, and that is one of the big casualties about racing at a track like this. We talked about it is so hard to pass cleanly here. It's almost impossible to do it clean, as a matter of fact. The track's just so tight, so one line. You don't have room for three abreast racing here. You can barely have room at times for just two wide racing. And with how wide these cars can be sometimes, they might look skinny sometimes on the outside, but let me tell you what, when you put them side by side, they are a lot wider than they look for sure. Robert Grosser still trying to reel in Ethan Hagen for that fourth position. I'll tell you what, Grosser not having a good run, because every time he starts to get close, lap traffic comes on in, and it really slows him up.
Again, 24 laps down, again with Grosser. Again, he's a veteran driver in this program. He's won a ton of races. He's got a ton of starts here as well, so he knows what to do. He knows how to bide his time. It's been a couple of years since the series ran here at Brands Hatch, but the driver's doing a great job thus far. Grosser's going to do what he needs to do, and that's keep the pressure up. Keep making sure you're in the mirror, whether it's the left side, right side of the car, whatever it may be. He has got to push Egan into a mistake, and it's easy to do here. You can carry too much speed through these corners here, the Surtees and McLaren corner. That transition back to be ready for the brakes and clearways is not easy. You can see the drivers keeping it to the inside, rolling back on the throttle as they come up here through the Bradham Straight. You have to be patient, but again, for a guy like Egan, he's just trying to make sure he can hold Grosser at bay. A P4 position so far, Grosser all over him here, and again, super early in this race.
Yes, indeed. So still trying to find his way up there. Going to look down further in the order. This is on board with Jamie Wilson, who was all over the gearbox at Joshua Chin. They're starting their way through some more lap traffic. Chimera teammate Niall McBride is a car that they're lapping right now who's going to actually slow up and let them both through. So good job on McBride to let his teammates through, but that's compromised Wilson's line to turn one. But now look at this Hornets that's ahead of them. That's Dario Whitcomb, who just had to let Caleb Weekly through. So now you got cars with different laps that are still trying to lap each other, along with the leaders darting their way through. It does create for some rather chaotic moments, but Wilson and Chin, they dealt with that one all right, and they are still both clean and green running up in front.
Yeah, let's bring this out here now, how early we are into this race. They've already lapped up to the 10th place driver, Neil McBride, running in 10th spot. He's now gone down a lap. The next driver with the target on his rear wing will be Josh Baird, then Liam Quinn. These two drivers from Team Camara have things handled right now. Good run for Joshua Chin up front, that number 93 machine. We talked about the fact of how good he's been this year. Scored the victory in Fontana, backed it up with another win at Phoenix just a couple of weeks ago. Lucas LaVille getting the win on the modified course at Sebring round number 2. But right now, Chin really out front. And to be honest, for Chin, another victory here is really going to cement his position up front. But a second place finish would be tremendous as well for Wilson to try to keep him in it as well. Jamie Wilson trying to chase after this championship. A second place finish is going to jump him, I expect, ahead of Andrew Wood, likely up into the second, maybe third spot.
Yes, indeed. Well, Ethan Hagen still trying to reel his way, still trying to run his way away from, that fifth place car of Robert Grosser. And I'll tell you what, Hagen is not having a good time trying to get away because he's just not able to do it. He's able to keep him at bay, but he is by no stretch of the means able to pull a gap over him. And, well, that's partially due to the lap traffic holding them up and then likewise holding up Robert Grosser at the same time. But there is a little bit of traffic you can get from these cars down that pit straight. And, of course, here down the Cooper Straight, if you can get yourself rolling in time and, get a better run off the corner. But it's so difficult to even try to break away here as Ethan Hagen is really finding out right now as Grosser is still trying to hound that gearbox.
And think about the fact that these drivers all, of course, at home, staying at home so we can try to flatten the curve of this COVID-19 coronavirus epidemic. The bottom line is these guys are in their rigs at home, and we're talking about almost 2 hours of straight focus. You know, the time limit on this race, 1 minute and 1 hour 50 minutes. It's going to be 165 laps the way they're running now. It might be a little bit quicker than this, but they have to remain focused the entire time. And I think that's one of the beauties of this particular platform, iRacing, sim racing. It still pressures these drivers so aggressively in terms of focus and hitting their marks every time. You simply can't make a mistake. And at a track like this is what Robert Grosser's doing. He's taking his time, he's relaxed, he's in his groove, he's not trying to put too much pressure in terms of trying to get by Egan. He's just trying to make sure that he is there all the time. If there's one minor mistake, he drops a wheel, whatever it may be, he wants to be there to be able to capitalize, because that may be his only opportunity. He's got to get a bit closer, because Egan now, Noel, with probably about 4 car lengths as they work their way through turn number 4.
Exactly, so it's definitely one of those things where he's really got to bide his time and try to work his way up there no matter what. And well, he's doing a good job of keeping with him, but he did lose a little bit of time on that last lap, so it would definitely appear that Grosser still losing time up front of Ethan Egan on board with Jamie Wilson, who you will see has also lost time to Joshua Chin up in front. So you can see there's the gap. That car up front there, that is Joshua Chin, who again is your current points leader by just 39 points going into today over Lucas Laville. So Joshua Chin is continuing to pull away with that lead, that's exactly what Chin's wanting to see right now. Like you said, he needs to get another win here to really cement himself in that first place position. Right now, he's in the perfect place to do that.
In talking to a couple of drivers, full tank of fuel with clean air, right around 59 laps. So anywhere between 55 and 59, probably the pit window. If you're going to do a two-stopper, 55 laps hits you right at the third mark and the 2/3 mark. So between 55 and 59 are going to be the pit window for these drivers. And again, some coming early with some issues. Otherwise, it'll be interesting to see when Joshua Chin, as your leader, becomes the first driver. And we're still quite a ways away from that, probably 22 to 28 laps still before we see anyone duck into pit lane. But otherwise, I'll tell you, it's been a tremendous run for Josh Chin as your leader, point leader, as you said as well. On board here with the battle, though, between number 27, Andrew Aiken, and the 41 of now McBride, the Aero X driver, versus the other Team Camara driver. And again, that's for a position inside the top 10. They did a great job seeding the way for the top 2-3 drivers coming through. And of course, as I said, they've lapped all the way up now to Josh Baird, I believe, in the 9th position, I think, at this point. I believe so. Actually, even all the way up to Johnny Garrett. Let me update myself there, because they just turned lap 34. So yeah, Liam Quinn in the 8th spot is the last driver on the lead lap. Noel, and these top 2 drivers, Chin and Wilson, putting on a show today.
Certainly are looking to potentially go around and lap the field. Robert Grosser, though, closing that gap further and further to Ethan Egan. Close enough to make a little bit of a look that time. Not close enough to actually make the move done. Another little peek to that inside down for turn number 2, but still not going to be close enough to make it work. And right now, he's got the lap traffic, which is playing benefit to him, because Caleb Wake off the track up ahead of them. That is going to allow Andrew Aiken through for position up in front, along with your battle for 4th place. That's one lap car now that they don't worry about. All of a sudden, now McBride trying to hound the back gearbox of Caleb Weekly in the battle for 11th place. On board with him now.
Here's the replay. A little wide coming into the entry, and you can see the right front tire got into the grass a little bit, wasn't able to get it turned to the apex. And at that point there, you're trying to carry so much speed through that corner. He drifted well off the track. You're able to do that actually at this particular circuit and not get hit with track limits. They kind of like that particular part where there is still some paver stones you can get up over top on the outside of the racetrack there. So he didn't lose any time that way, but did lose one spot and allowed a couple of the drivers in the top 5 to sneak through as well, both Egan and Robert Grosser. Weekly back focus back forward. And again, right behind him, we're seeing that battle further back. Andrew Adair is now working his way in here as well. Andrew Adair Saunders in the number 4, starting to close up on Weekly, the battle for 11th.
Indeed, and well, the camera's going to swing around to the back end so we can take a look at the gap from behind. And you can see Saunders taking a tighter line down to turn number 1. He's going to be able to look up front for McBride, who's up the inside of Caleb Weekly in a very clean pass. Weekly going to lose out another spot here, and actually lifts off the throttle to let Saunders through, not wanting to do battle too hard. So Weekly also biding his time, recognizing when the battle is not going to be won, and he is going to surrender that position over there to Saunders. On board with McBride to show the pass. You can see just ran a bit too deep into turn number 2, and well, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and that was Saunders being ready for that. That's what we talked about with Grosser, what he's hoping to see out of Ethan Egan. Continue to push All that happened there was the fact that Weekly got a little wide coming through and wasn't able to get the car pinched back down to the bottom of the racetrack. McBride has a bit of issue there. We just saw him drop a couple wheels off of the exit of Paddock Hill as well. Drivers really flirting with the outside of the racetrack coming through turn 1 over to turn number 2. But again, Weekly just wasn't able to get the car turned in. He was a full car width too wide, and Saunders right there able to keep the car down to the apex. And of course, when you own that apex, you have the exit in hand. So did a great job to take that spot away. So you move Andrew Adair Saunders now to 12th position.
Ethan Egan still running ahead of Robert Grosser. Grosser still biding his time, still trying to find some way up there. Right now, that number 3 car is definitely, he's looking content to just run where he is right now. He's gotten close, he's made a couple looks, but he hasn't been really aggressive, shall we say. Yes, there it is, and that is Robert Grosser around, and he's going to hang on to that one somehow. And, well, I think he's going to lose all his time there, but my goodness, what a save for the number 3.
The drivers working their way out here, coming out of that turn number 3 Graham Hill bend up through Surtees and McLaren. We're going to lose them a bit here, but look at that big slide. I talked about, Nolan, how tough it was coming through clearways to be able to get the car to rotate. You're trying to carry so much speed through. Here's another look at it. See, just trying to carry the speed and lost the rear, and you are right. That was a magnificent save. Able to hold on to it. Car was sliding. Just steered enough into it that he was going to be able to hold it. Modulating the throttle again, back on it. Great save, but again, all that time that he had spent just putting in the effort to try to find a way by Egan goes by the wayside. He's back by 1.6 seconds now. The march back forward will continue here for Robert Grosser.
Meanwhile, battling up front, Karsten Broadway, the birthday boy, just putting his way around Caleb Weekly. That was for 13th place. Of course, do have to give a happy birthday to Karsten Broadway. It is, of course, his birthday here today, so, well, convenient timing for him as he's on a really good race right now. If you'll remember, started 24th place, and he worked his way up 11 spots to 13th. Had some issues earlier on in the race, but now he is right back up where he was before and looking to continue to pick up spots. The next driver up the road is Andrew Adair Saunders, who's about the length of the pit straight up in front of him, so got some work to do. Still, though, got a very long way to go left in this race.
What I find very interesting right now as we continue to watch a little bit here, Robert Grosser. We'll get back to Robert when we get a chance. Again, staying there with Broadway in the number 35. But Robert Grosser now, we talked about the fact that he was behind Ethan Egan. Couldn't find a way by. Every lap since he had that little issue, he's been almost a full 1/10 of a second quicker. It was 1.6 seconds back last time I looked. It's now less than a second. In fact, it's now less than 9/10 of a second, down to 0.800. Robert Grosser behind Ethan Egan. He's faster than Ethan, but so hard to pass here, Nolan. He was not able to find a way through. They put as much pressure on as they can. Egan now getting eaten up by some lap traffic. Will this be an opportunity for Grosser? He gets a good run coming out of Graham Hill Bend. Back up on here through the Cooper Straight, putting the pressure back up on Egan. He will close enough, but again, once he gets there, the problems will start just once again. Good run out of the corner for Egan, out of clearways, back up the straightaway. Nolan, good fight here, coming again for P4.
Indeed, Ethan Egan lost about half a second in turn 3 alone when he was held up by Caleb Weekly. Now Grosser is going to be hounding that gearbox again and trying to find his way out there. Look at how close they are getting right through turn number 2 and trying to find their way up there still. Now he's getting held up by Logan Simmons in the number 75 machine just up the road as well. So this is absolutely disastrous for Egan as he's going to be trying to find his way up there, and Grosser is going to use every second he can get right now to potentially try and go for a move here. He could be potentially close enough to make a move here into turn number 1. Is he going to be brave enough? He is going to be side by side, but he's actually going to get cut off by Logan Simmons. Is going to force both drivers around the outside of turn 1, and heads up, everybody, and Grosser's opportunistic look into turn 1, cut off by a lapped car. That, no doubt, did not feel terribly pleasant.
Well, that could have ended up so many different ways. It looked to me like Grosser was thinking about making the move to the inside to try to get by that lapped car, dive to the inside to be able to have the better clean room run through. We'll see as they come up through the Braden Straight here over to Paddock Hill. He's thinking about it. Yeah, do I just throw it in here? Maybe not. And then way to the outside, of course, trying to steer clear of that number 75 of Logan Simmons as Egan. He goes way wide. Man, I'm telling you, there could have been so many different outcomes, and congratulations to all 3 of those drivers for coming through. But I would tell you, I think what could be interesting here for Robert Grosser, Nolan, we haven't talked about it yet because we're really about 10 laps away from it still. Here he is, knowing he's about let's say half a tenth quicker on every lap than Ethan Egan, but he can't get by. He's blocked. There's just no opportunity for him to overtake. The pit stop is probably going to be the best opportunity now for Robert Grosser. Does he come early? Does he potentially wait to see whether or not Egan goes in? Because if Egan pits early and he waits, he just has to have that great second couple of laps to pull away. For both of these drivers, Grosser, I think primarily, he's just going to wait to see how this pit stop plays out. If Egan goes late, I think you look for Grosser to go potentially early lap 55 or lap 56.
Applications are still open for the special raffle today to win yourself a free key for the Virtual Race Car Engineer software. To enter, simply type something, anything, into the YouTube chat, and you will be automatically entered to win. Entrants are being accepted up to the checkered flag. The winner will be announced prior to the conclusion of today's broadcast, and the series admins will find a way to get in touch with you to hand you your free key after the broadcast concluded. Battle on for 11th, as you can see Randy Schumach bailing out over the sand just behind them. Niall McBride trying to extend that gap up for Andrew Saunders, but he has to let out because Joshua Chin darting his way through again. Gonna take a look on board the replay. And while we're looking at this angle of Randy Schumach going off track, I should mention, first place, lapped up to 6th now.
No doubt they're working their way forward. That was a good call there, though, for Randy Schumach. He knew the guys were coming behind him. Didn't want to play a role in the actual storyline, so really just got a little wide coming out of the corner and didn't pinch it right down. So although it did go off track more to just make sure that the leaders were able to get through and keep racing. So kudos to him. Again, this is that battle we've been watching all race long so far. 48 laps into 165 lapper here at Brands Hatch. My name is Rob Howden, joined by Nolan Rempel here today on Race Spot. Great action in this classic IndyCar series. I've come to love this program, and just a couple of races I've had a chance to announce. Just great drivers, great action, and I'm loving the way things are happening here at Brands Hatch because the pit stops are going to start playing a role, especially in this fight between Ethan Egan and Robert Grosser. We haven't hardly talked about Lucas Laville at all, the winner from Sebring. He's P3 by himself. He's 7 seconds behind the leaders. And in fact, Joshua Chin's been able to pull a lead of about 3.3 seconds. But I really believe that pit stops could play a role. Lucas Laville here having a great run in that number 29 machine for Vortex Sim Sports. He'll come up the inside of one of our slower cars, the number 35 of Karsten Broadway, and then work his way back down here into Paddock Hill. Again, 50 laps. I can expect between 5 to 8 laps going. We're going to start to see drivers diving to pit lane.
Well, it's again one of those cases where you just have so many drivers that are trying to work their way through, and you got so many drivers that are on different laps from each other. Like in total, with cars on track, we've got about, I guess, 4 different groups, but battle on for 4th place. Finally, Grosser not being patient anymore. He's going to be up the inside of Ethan Egan into turn number 1. Can Egan try to go for a switchback here in turn 2? Not going to be close enough. 4th place is going to be belonging here to Robert Grosser for Vortex Sim Racing.
Oh, what a fantastic pass that was. He's been working on this. Down to the inside, kept the on the throttle, able to keep the car balanced. That gives him the inside for Druids. Excellent pass for Grosser. Again, think about that. That was 50 laps almost of a hardcore chase to just try to see if he can force the mistake. Egan does not make a mistake, so Grosser said, I'm doing it. I'm taking the spot before we go to pit lane. That is a tremendous pass to the inside of Paddock Hill. Not an easy place to pass. We know how light the car gets when you're down the inside. You got all that wheel into it. You're trying to get the thing turned. You're trying to roll back on the throttle. That is a pass by a veteran driver going to P4 to put the Vortex drivers in P3 and P4.
So this is going to put the Vortex Sim Racing machines in 3rd and 4th place, exactly where they want to be right now. So it's a Chimera 1-2, a Vortex Sim Racing 3-4 right now, and Ethan Egan running all in his lonesome. Still trying to have a good run there. Well, let's take a look at your top 8 for now. Joshua Chin and Jamie Wilson still running 1st and 2nd place. Laville and Grosser still 3rd and 4th place, as we just discussed. Egan has dropped back to 5th and is only losing time to Robert Grosser. Andrew Wood in 6th. Tim Quinn and Johnny Garrett in the first 2 cars that are 1 lap down in this field after just 53 laps out of 165. So Josh Chin is on a tear. He's closing the gap in as well to 4th and 5th place as well. We could be seeing everybody but the podium drivers being lapped in this race.
You know what? That's not out of the realm of possibility. Leaders are putting down such great laps, and they've been very consistent as well. Mid 36s, 36.3, the best lap for Joshua Chin, a 36.5 for Wilson, 36.4 for LaVille, 36.7 for Robert Grosser, and 36.9 for Ethan Hagan. So you can see kind of the discrepancy of the guys that can actually run up front. Chin able to get down to a 36.3. Again, you don't really look at their last lap times because you never know what's going to happen. We do have a driver in pit lane. Now McBride for Team Chimeras into pit lane in that number 14 machine. See if he rolls right back out here. In comes Randy Shoemake as well in the number 2, lap 54. Yeah, 54, 55, 56, all good for pit stops. So these guys, Nolan coming in at the very front of the pit window.
So the pit window is looking to open on up a 10.7. Oh, and hold on. What in the world has happened there to Niall McBride? He just turned dead right out of the pits. He got on the throttle way too early and too aggressively and put himself into the wall. And that likely might actually end his race here, Rob.
Yeah, cold tires too. Does he dip a wheel? He doesn't. It's not like he even dipped a wheel. He just got on the throttle and it spun. You can see immediately he's out of there. He pressed the reset button, was done. And you're right, that could be it for Niall McBride. He was running 13th in the order, had been the first driver to come to pit lane. And then just that minor little lapse of concentration. You can't make that mistake. You got cold tires. You got to roll out cleanly. You got to get back on the throttle. This is the driver leading the way right now, Joshua Chin. When does he decide to come to pit lane? Driver the number 93 leading the way. Trying to get around now the number 91 machine. That's Dario Rickoff. He makes way for him coming down the hill to Graham Hill Bend. Randy Shoemake with an issue as well. It does exactly the same thing. Nolan, cold tires, lots of throttle, does not work in turn number 1.
No, certainly not, and it seems like pit exit is definitely going to be a hazard to look out for. It would seem to add on to all the other complications a lot of these drivers have been experiencing already. But we've seen those are the first 2 drivers to come down to the pits, and both of them having carbon copy incidents on the exit. Definitely not the way you want to have your race go. I see Josh Barrett in 9th place down to the lane. McBride still sitting in the pits as well after he had to get his car towed back. Evidently he didn't want to work, and Shoemake around again down in turn number 1, and my goodness, it's all going wrong here for Shoemake, who's now dropped down to 18th place, and I gotta wonder, he's got a very bent up rear wing here, Rob, from other incidents previously. You gotta wonder if maybe he's had some messed up aerodynamics that are playing factor into some of this stuff as well.
Well, you know, pressing the reset button on the car and iRacing itself is pretty easy. Pressing the reset button on your mind's a little tougher, and that happens a lot. You'll get a driver who'll make a minor mistake, and instead of being in the right headspace, they're trying to shake it off a little bit. They're trying to see if they can't make up some of the time they may have lost there. You know, Randy probably just making a little bit, little error coming through paddock. He needed to get on the throttle a little bit later. Car just went around him. That's a textbook mistake of a driver who's just made another mistake and just can't quite press the reset button. Tough one for him.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a tough one for a few drivers then recently. Well, Joshua Chin still out in the race lead, closing in on 60 laps complete at 65. It'll be 100 laps to go. He's right now right on the back of Andrew Aiken, who's running 13th place, looking to put him, well, it's going to be about 4 laps down, as a matter of fact, 3 laps down coming up here in a minute. And, well, going to take our eyes back up to Ethan Aiken, who's closed back in to Robert Grosser and still trying to find his way back up there. So this would be the battle for, well, the first place in the top 5. And we're expecting that these guys are going to be lapped before the end of this one as well.
Well, what I find interesting, obviously, is the fact that Egan, even though we saw at one point Grosser with that issue he had coming out of clearways and got the car all sideways, he was able to close up significantly on Egan over the course of maybe 3-4 laps, right? He was quicker by 2-3 tenths of a second a lap. Egan's not letting him pull away this time. Last time by, it was what, a 39.9, a 36.9 rather for Grosser, 37.1 for Egan, so just 2 tenths of a second difference between first and second. But again, you can see that Egan, once he does have some clear laps, able to close back up a bit. But again, when lap traffic comes, everybody has a bit of trouble. Who gets through more cleanly? That's what you'll see with the gap. Grosser, though, again, putting down a pretty good lap. Last time by a 36.771. Almost as quick as your leader, Joshua Chin, last time by for Grosser. So, although Egan started to close up a little bit, made that cushion a little less comfortable for Grosser, he's able to stroll back out here again and get another couple of car lengths.
We are expecting Grosser to come down to the lane really soon here as well, because he's going on, lap. He's going to be crossing over onto the 60th lap of his stint now this time. So we were hearing that 59 laps would be about the fuel window in clean air. These guys have definitely not been in clean air, so they are going to be able to keep it out a bit longer, but they are going to be coming down very, very shortly here. So this is one thing to look out for again for Robert Grosser is when does he come down to the pits, and will Ethan Agan follow or try to stretch it out maybe one lap longer and try to go for an overcut?
Yeah, no doubt about that. That's a great strategy here in iRacing to be able to, get that good in lap, good out lap, and a good pit stop to jump over top of the guy in front of you. Second place running Jamie Wilson now into pit lane in the number 87. It's been a good first stint for Wilson, the Team Chimera driver, again coming in fourth in points, tied with Shoemake and Grosser. So right now, 69 points coming in, having a tremendous run here. And here comes Joshua Chin here on lap number 62. We'll see what kind of a lead he has when he comes back out, but Chin has been absolutely perfect, Nolan, in all his pit stops so far this year. 2 times the winner, looking for win number 3, but again, super early in the race, 63 laps in, only the first of what we expect to be 2 pit stops.
Caleb Weekly is having a bit of a spin as well. That big contact between 5th place and 19th sends Dario Rikov around just after this one took place. Chin comes out in second, but a big mess down the Cooper Straight last time by as, well, it started when Caleb Weekly had his little spin up front and then coming back onto the track right behind him. There you can see Weekly going around, and watch behind him as you're going to see Andrew Wood trying to get on Dario Rikov behind. Rikov is with lap down, and Wood just runs right the side of him as Wood went onto the grass. There's the contact. That sent Dario Rikov for a bit of a slide entering turn number 4 as well.
Man, some excitement there for Andrew Wood. He runs now in the 5th position. P5, here's another look at it from the chopper shot. He's trying to get between both of those cars. Little contact between each, so both Weekly and Rikov with a couple incidents there in the bottom part of this racetrack through Cooper Straight. Here's Rikov again. He's just staying on the track, trying to roll back on. He sees the car coming across, staying to the outside. Boom. In comes Andrew Wood pretty aggressively to the inside, contact for Rikov. Sometimes, Nolan, you're just trying to mind your own business, and some other cars coming through straight. So tough one there for Rikov, who continues to run back there in 18th position.
Absolutely not what he wanted to see at all. Well, the battle for 4th place was split up through the midst of that whole pit cycle. Robert Grosser is up by now, and he's up by a good margin yes, Robert Grosser up by about 2.3 seconds here on Ethan Agan, and likewise Joshua Chin up 6.7 seconds on Jamie Wilson. So the battles are certainly split up. Oh my goodness, that was, as we were on board the Andreas Saunders, that was a close one there for Dario Rikov again. And again, that rear wing not looking very healthy. You gotta wonder if maybe that's playing a hand into the aerodynamics of that number 91.
Well, there's no way that it can make it easier. Let's put it that way. That he's obviously struggling a little bit with this particular track. It's a tough one for sure. Again, some trouble coming into the braking zone. He's trying to overcook it. Again, we talked about the issue that Weekly may have had when you make a minor mistake, or I think it was Randy Shoemake. You make a minor mistake, you push it so hard to see if you can't dial things in rather than just settle in. And we've seen that Rikov has had a couple issues there after the trouble he had at the top of the hill. Tried to go a little too aggressively into Druids as well and overcook that one. Andrew Adair Saunders in the number 4 for the Iconic Motorsports team, coming in currently 8th in the order. He'll hit his marks coming into pit lane. So his first stop coming here on lap 66. As we had said, clear air, about 59 laps with clean air for a full tank of fuel. But there's been lots of lap cars early in the run. There will be less lap cars to deal with, of course, in the second half of this race, which will make it a little tougher to save fuel for guys like Chin and Wilson up front. But otherwise, Saunders working his way back out here in that number 4. Let's see if he's able to come out cleanly. Seen truck drivers obviously get on the throttle a little too early. Good release there for Saunders. P10 after the pit stop.
And currently duking it out with Karsten Broadway right behind him, who is going to be for position. As well, I'll tell you what, this has been a very good one so far. A very good race indeed. Joshua Chin still running out in front after an 11.8 second stop in his box. And with Saunders, that means that every driver now is secure where they are at in the field as of right now. There's no further pit stops that are going to be scheduled for any of these lead lap cars until later. So that's going to be kind of the plan for now, is just hang on and we'll wait for that next stop, which we're not going to be seeing until after lap 100. But we are going to be seeing one more pit stop throughout the course of the day, and that should be the final one for a lot of these drivers as well here, Rob.
Yeah, we got to probably look somewhere around, that 115, 120, 125 probably for your final pit stop. Maybe 120 at the latest. We saw that Chin came in on lap number 61. So if he doubles that up, we're looking at 122 for your leader. But again, it's just been a tremendous start for the season for Joshua Chin and Team Camara. Like you said, 39-point lead over Lucas Laville. Camara won the first race with Chin at Fontana. Vortex came back with Lucas Laville in that exciting race that we had on the modified circuit at Sebring. And then Chin came right back as Team Camara looked like they had things handled 1, 2, 3 for a majority of the race on the oval at Phoenix. But late in the run, we saw guys like Hauser and Laville all get back up into the fight. So all in all, it's been kind of a two-team battle here for the first 3 races. And again, continuing as well, as we've got Team Chimera first and second, and Vortex Sim Racing in third and fourth. Ethan Egan, I think an actual independent. I'm not sure whether or not he's connected with one of the teams, but he may be coming them forward because he's been very impressive here from practice through to the race, Nolan.
Broadway still trying to close in the gap to Andrew Adair Saunders up in front. This is the battle for 11th place right now. Broadway has picked up another spot in the midst of that pit cycle. He's up to 12th now. He managed to get one spot over Franz Josef Stum as well in the midst of all of this. So this has definitely been a very good run here for Broadway as we look back to, Josh Baird, who, again, another driver that has been having, let's say this, he's been having a decent, outside of the best of days, he's lost one spot from where he qualified up in 7th, but still has not been as terrible for him as some other drivers. He's got 34 seconds ahead to Liam Quinn, only 2 seconds behind, though, to Johnny Garrett. So that's what he's going to have to really look out for, is going to be that position he's going to be trying to lose here. Well, not trying to lose, but he's going to be looking to lose here if that gap continues to close. Still, though, that battle's not quite over yet for 11th place, but, Saunders, he's pulling away.
This is the part of the race that I find very interesting. Anybody who's done any kind of racing, outdoor, real life, the first couple of laps, I think, of the first half, a lot of the time, you're really running on that momentum of getting started, getting the race rolling. The event itself, the storyline's kind of starting to play out for you. It's the second half, the midway part of the race. There's a driver going well off to the inside there, Carson Broadway and Andrew Adair Saunders battling it out. I think right behind them might have been Franz Josef Stum in number 34, cooked it hard into Paddock Hill and went off into the grass. But it's this mid-race stuff, Nolan, when you're settling into the groove, right? You're hitting your mark. As long as you've got your mind set and your line is good and you're happy with the car, this is about banging off laps, especially if you're a Jamie Wilson or a Lucas Laville. You're running second, you're third, you're trying to find a bit more pace, you're taking care of your tires. Let's see how long we can go on a fuel run. The longer you go on this fuel run, the shorter your fill will be for the final stop. I always find that middle part of the race to be very interesting to see which drivers are able to handle it and which drivers potentially crack under the pressure.
3.6 seconds separating Wilson and Laville right now, and you can see for the deltas down on the bottom right of the screen. Lost half a second, Laville did, on lap 70, only 5 thousandths on 71, and then gained on lap 72. Now I'm around in lap 74, and that gap is still hovering, just about a couple seconds right now. Still 3.65 is the gap. So it's been a problem for Laville trying to work his way up there for sure, but no doubt lap traffic not helping the matters. Right now, they do have a lot of clean air, though, out in front as well. And, applications are still open for what we're calling a chat raffle today. Leave a comment in the YouTube chat for a chance to win a free virtual race car engineer key. We are accepting these applications up to the checkered flag. To enter, leave a comment in the YouTube chat. Doesn't have to be something specific, could be literally anything, and you will be automatically entered to win. We've already got about 6-7 entries as it is, and we're still looking to grow that size. After the race and after the checkered flag, the winner will be announced, and the admins for this program will be getting in touch with you to hand out your free key for the virtual race car engineer. It's a very unique setup program which can really help make a difference for you out on the track, getting you the perfect baseline setup tailored directly to your needs.
Lucas Laville, watching him come through Druids now and back down the hill through to Graham Hill Bend. Turn 3 here at the legendary Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. It's a tough track. It's a short track, if you will, when it comes to sprint racing as it is here, road racing, because a very quick lap. We're seeing times in the mid to high 36s now. It's a lot of drivers in the low 37s. And it's a tough track with a lot of elevation change, as you can see, coming through Paddock Hill, then back up the hill to Druids, off-camber corners where you're really trying to roll that throttle back on, clearways being one of them. You have to be very gentle, roll back on the throttle. We even saw a veteran driver like Robert Grosser almost go around in clearways trying to get that thing rotated because, of course, the longest straightaway is out of turn number 6 all the way through Clark Curve and 7 back up to Paddock Hill, so you want to get on the throttle as fast as you possibly can. Back on board here with Ethan Agan in that number 20. Again, an independent driver, as we have noticed there now on the nameplates on the screen. We'll see what he does as he's battling against 2 big teams here this year, Team Chimera and Vortex Sim Racing. Tremendous event thus far for Ethan Agan in that number 20. He's closed it back up. He hasn't let Grosser get away. He really only about a 10th slower last time by. He's still less than a second behind. Lap cars, of course, playing with this every time one of our faster drivers comes up onto a pack. The guys behind having to, get really aggressive, close back up on the rear wing, and potentially find that way by. And Nolan was interesting. We thought that first pit stop could be the opportunity for Grosser to leapfrog over Agan with a good in-lap, a clean stop, and a solid out-lap on cold tires. Instead, though, he went for it and made the move in turn number 1 with probably our pass of the race thus far. An aggressive move to the inside of 1. They go side by side out of Paddock Hill over to Druids. He ends up with the lead. All in all, it's been a really good race for Robert Grosser getting back to P4.
Absolutely, it's been a great race for him, for Grosser, who's worked himself up into 4th place, who's gained 1 spot, and he took over Ethan Agan's qualifying spot. So these 2 drivers haven't been doing a whole lot of shuffling around throughout the entire race. Actually, they've been looking very settled in their 4th and 5th places, haven't lost any, haven't really gained any. The only times they've swapped spots was that pass at a terminal with each other. The battle, though, for 11th place, that's where it's really at, because these are 2 drivers that have gained massively from the start of this race. Andrew Adair Saunders gained 11 spots at the start of his race. Karsten Broadway gained 12 spots at the start of his race, which is kind of convenient, actually, considering they're running 11th and 12th, if you would believe that or not. So 11th place has gained 11 spots, 12th place has gained 12 spots. And not every day you see that sort of a thing line up, is it?
Well, the bottom line is for these guys, they've stayed out of trouble because we've seen other drivers, top drivers, Tristan Hauser, Jan Hoffman, some of these drivers go further back in the back. Same with Randy Shoemake and now McBride. Minor mistakes for them coming out onto the track after going into the pits. A key to this race, if you don't have the outright speed of the guys up front, stay out of trouble. Attrition we knew was going to be a factor. It was going to be a storyline all race long. As we're just coming up to the halfway point now, the drivers who have been able to stay out of trouble were still finding themselves potentially just inside or just outside the top 10. So it may not be your highlight race of the weekend, but a top 10 still keeps you in the fight for a top position in the championship standings when we're all said and done in November. So it should be interesting to see how some of these drivers continue to move forward, but I'm right now, of course, watching any kind of battle we could have on the racetrack. I don't know whether we're going to see another one from Grosser and Egan, because Robert Grosser putting down good lap times. Last time by about a 10th slower, time before 2/10 quicker. We'll see if that battle comes back together again before we're all said and done.
Absolutely. That's one thing we're going to have to look out for as well, is, of course, those drivers that, are going to be hopefully getting the battles back on. Things have definitely really settled down right now. We are now halfway through this race. 82.5 was the exact halfway point, but now, we're halfway through this race here, Rob. So, 82 and a half laps down, and, now it's going to be just 82 laps left to run here at Brands Hatch Indy. The lap times is still looking very, very fast. Definitely not as fast as the 36s we were seeing in qualifying, but still hovering at about the high 36s in some cases, right down to the low 40s as well. There you can see Andrew Adair Saunders trying to let Robert Grosser by, speak of the devil, and still trying to find his way around and still trying to work his way through the field. So your 2 close battles of the track are currently, really splitting each other up here.
Well, good for Saunders as well, staying to the outside of the racetrack as he had let Robert Grosser go by down on Cooper Straight before getting up into 4 and 5. But Egan was stuck behind him and had to wait till they got back onto the straightaway. So Ethan Egan, again, further back. It's almost a full second now between 4th and 5th. Lap time-wise, with Egan having to check up a bit, about 2/10 slower. The 2 fastest drivers the lap before were Joshua Chin and Lucas LaVille. This last time by, though, Chin goes down to a 36.633. Seems to me that anytime he gets open racetrack, and if he does need to kind of go back into the pocket a little bit and pull some more speed out, Joshua Chin has it. Almost a 10-second lead over his teammate Jamie Wilson right now. They've lapped all the way up, I want to say, think they've lapped up to probably 6th position now. We'll have a look when they come back around. It's either 5th or 6th. 6th for sure. They haven't got around Egan yet, I don't think, but they've lapped almost the entire field and putting down amazing lap times still. 36, 6, 7s, or 8s. That's essentially been the order of the day here for Joshua Chin.
Well, believe it or not, they've actually lapped their way all the way up to 3rd, as a matter of fact. Lucas Laville, the last driver on the lead lap. There you go. So your opponent drivers, the only drivers on the lead lap right now, 4th on back, have been lapped. Carson Brown was looking to close in there to Angelo Dear Saunders, but unfortunately for him, just didn't manage to make it work. There's your top 8 on the screen. They can see it. Wilson still running 1-2 for Chimera. Laville and Groscher still running 3-4 for Vortex Sim Racing. Ethan Hagan rounds out the top 5 with Andrew Wood and Leo Quinn also 1 lap down. Johnny Garrett 2 laps down in the 8th spot. There were a lot of incidents early on in this race, Rob, as we've seen, and that is definitely what's caused a lot of these drivers to back off as far as they have. In fact, I would say probably from about 18th on back have retired, so that's a good 9 drivers that are out of this race as it is, out of the 27 car field.
How did I don't know how I missed Chin and Wilson getting by Grosser and Egan, but I'll tell you, you got to think how much is this beat into your psyche a little bit. You know, you're in the middle of a championship battle. You know that the Team Chimera guys are good on the ovals. Chin has been strong on the oval. They have a fantastic setup for the tracks like Fontana and like Phoenix, and of course, a great battle at Fontana. You know, 5 guys going for the race win at the very end, so close. But in the end, we got to Phoenix, and really Team Chimera and Chin kind of dominated the thing until the Vortex guys closed in. But what if you're Robert Grosser right now, or some of these guys, man, just get beat down, because this is an impressive performance. Grosser's running great lap times, but again, you get caught behind some slower cars, whatever it may be. Joshua Chin has absolutely put on a show to be able to lap up to the 3rd place driver. That next driver will be Lucas Laville. He's only 15 seconds back, so he's still 20-something seconds from being lapped, so that's not going to happen, at least in the next number of laps. Bottom line is that the number 87 machine of Jamie Wilson do whatever he can to close back up on Joshua Chin. But this is the fight here that we're seeing, not so much fight, but the battle we're seeing between 2nd and 3rd. We'll look at lap times. 3.7 seconds between Wilson and Laville. Last time by, though, Nolan, Laville quicker by 0.3 of a second as he's trying to close back up on P2.
Indeed he is, and Laville has been steadily faster over the course of the last 3 laps, and the amount of time he's gained has only been increasing, so Laville is definitely getting that hammer down, and he's trying to work his way up to overtake 2nd place in Jamie Wilson and take away that Chimera 1-2. Remember, they came away with I think there was about a Chimera 1-2 last week, or it was at least a Chimera 1-3-4-5, if I remember correctly.
It was 1-2-3 at one point at Phoenix.
It was 1-2-3-4 at Phoenix at one point, actually, and I know that there was one driver that definitely ended things for them, and it definitely didn't go quite the way for a couple of the drivers in the final few laps, but I know for a fact that Laville is trying to take away that 1-2, because I think it's safe to say that if Joshua Chin can keep it out of trouble, he is definitely going to be keeping things steady. There you see the graphic, and that is the difference between your race leader and 3rd place. There's almost half a lap separating 1st and 3rd place, and while 2nd place, he's only 3 seconds up the road. So that just shows you how dominant Joshua Chin has been here ever since he took away that lead from Jamie Wilson. He had a golden pit stop, as always, and that's what's allowed him to keep up in front this entire race so far.
It's interesting you mentioned Phoenix, because you look back, we're kind of having a similar battle here. Team Chimera running 1st and 2nd. They were 1st, 2nd, 3rd, as you said, with Chin and Liam Quinn, and Jamie Wilson was in that fight as well. They had a bunch of drivers up front, but again, it was Hauser who kind of rolled up there at the end of the race in Phoenix and was able to be the guy at the end. I don't think we're going to have that same kind of deal where a driver's going to come out with fresh tires. We are going to have another stop, somewhere around 115, 120, 125 at the latest, I think, would be for a stop. Maybe a little earlier than that. We may see 110 to 120 here. But again, we'll keep watching the pace being laid down by Lucas Laville. He may be trying to spoil the Team Chimera party again, because I think they were lined up to have a really good weekend in Phoenix, but didn't quite play out that way. Last time by, at 36.9 for Laville, 36.598 for Wilson. He stretches it to 4.5 seconds, and that is crucial for Jamie Wilson. Nolan, get a couple of good laps down here. You don't want Laville to think like he's getting any closer. Let him know we got a 1-2 lined up here.
Well, not to mention, he's trying to make sure that he can keep LaVille at bay for as long as possible as well, because he knows that Joshua Chin, his teammate, is in the lead in the points. And LaVille, he's only 39 points back. So right now, Chin needs to get this win, this third win of the season, so he can come away and continue to extend that lead over Lucas LaVille. LaVille wants to at least make sure that the amount that he can get away is minimized as much as possible. Seems like the battle for 11th place is going to be picking up here again, hopefully shortly. Karsten Broadway has reeled in the gap to Andrew Saunders, trying to get himself yet another spot right now. Broadway has worked his way up 12 spots from where he started down in 24th place. And now he's trying to close yet another one. He got really close a couple times through. And then remember, your battle for 4th place ducked around him and split that battle big time to the point where the gap was well over a second. And now he's closed it back in, and he's looking hungry.
Most definitely the closest battle on the racetrack now. Karsten Broadway here on board with him with the number 35, coming down through the Cooper Straight. Bottom part of the racetrack, they'll work their way back up through Surtees and McLaren to Clearways, looking good. This is where you got to get back on the throttle cleanly. We'll continue to watch whether or not Broadway can work his way up here into the 11th position. Andrew Adair Saunders, the driver up front. Andrew Aiken about 7 seconds up the road from this fight for 11th and 12th. So unless we have an issue here, neither of these drivers with a shot at this point in the race, rather, to try to go into the top 10. Little shout out here again for Team Camara. Not only are they 1 and 2, but they're also 6 and 7. So 4 of their drivers in the top 7 now, over half of that front running 7. All Team Chimera. We know that Neil McBride had a great run now, and that 41 was quick, but had that issue and ended up being out of the race. I think he may still be rolling here, although he could be in pit lane in 19th, as you said before. Nolan, a number of drivers have backed out of this one here. A number of drivers in pit lane as well. But I just wanted to say, Team Chimera, 4 drivers in the top 7. They have a great setup for this track as well, as good as they did for Phoenix, I think.
Indeed, everybody except, of course, now McBride, who is still sitting in pit road after that, well, shall we say, a thing of an incident, exiting the pit lane, got a bit too throttle happy, lost the back end, and hit the Armco barrier, likely bent the suspension, which has ended his race here. So that's it's unfortunate for Niall McBride, one of the Chimera cars. The others, though, like you said, they've been having a very good go at things, and still, Broadway is still trying to reel in that gap to 11th place of Andrew Adair Saunders. That gap is still looking to close on in. It's now hovering at about 0.6 of a second right now. That gap, it's closing slowly, but it is closing, and there's still a lot of time for Broadway to make something work.
That's all it takes, right? No one used a 10th here, a 10th there, even a couple of hundredths of a second are good enough. As long as you know you're getting close. And as you get closer, again, then the driver in front of you knows it. They're going to start thinking about it. They're going to be driving in their mirrors. They're going to be in their head. I need to roll on the throttle a little bit earlier here. Where is he getting me? How's he catching me? And when you start thinking like that, then you put yourself into an opportunity to make a mistake. They slipped by Dario Rikoff there up in Druids. Rikoff has been, I don't want to say staying out of trouble because he's been in quite a bit of trouble throughout the day, but he hasn't damaged the car enough that he's out of the race. So he's running 14th right now. So good job for Dario Rikoff, staying out of trouble when the faster guys are coming through. But again, as you said, Nolan, this is the battle for us to watch right now. It's 11th place running Andrew Adair Saunders, 12th place running Karsten Broadway. Saunders in the 4, Broadway right in front of you here in the 35. Look at Broadway try to carry more speed to Clearways. That just doesn't work. He had to push wide, get off the throttle, probably combine with a little more brake. Tough one there for Saunders, Nolan. But he's being aggressive. You know he's trying to get the spot. He's not just biding his time, that's for sure.
The gap is closed down now to just over half a second, and it is still closing in. So Broadway has got the speed, and he's trying to get one more spot to put himself up 13 places from where he started today, and he's lost the back end, and that is unfortunate there for the 35 machine, who's just given up another spot to Dario. Well, not quite to Dario Rikoff, as he's still a few laps down, but my goodness, that was oh so unfortunate there for Karsten Broadway, who's going to loop it around.
That was tough for Broadway for sure because it looked like it was a pretty good corner. He had the thing pinched down just a little bit too much on the throttle. I think that Saunders had probably a worse corner than he did. You could see him just trying to pinch it there. It looked to me like Saunders had got up over top of the curb on the right side or left side of the track, rather, the inner curb, and then made contact coming through there. Looks like Rikoff having some trouble here with Liam Quinn. I'm further back. I'm looking at my other screen I've got here. So issue between both of those drivers. Here's the number 24 machine of Liam Quinn. He had a little bit of contact with Dario Rickoff, I believe, coming through turn number 3, getting down to Graham Hill Bend. Let's have a look at that. And again, on board here with a 24 of Quinn, coming through Druids, trying to see if he can't dive to the inside of Rickoff coming down the hill. And just a different closing speed. Of course, Rickoff on the brakes much earlier. That's the reason why he's off the pace a little bit. Quinn, trying to get a feel for that car. Man, that looked to be pretty aggressive damage. Let's have another look at it here, Nolan.
Taking one more look at it from Dario Rickoff, and you'll see that car just getting punted off into the grass. And it is very unfortunate, to say the very least, for Rickoff. But I mean, at the same time, you got to feel that surely he probably would have expected that the closing rates would have been different. I mean, look at the back wing on that one. He's not going to be able to, break at the same points you are. As now, Rickoff looks like he might be finally throwing in the towel as he brings it down to the pit lane and going to bring it into his box. And now he actually is going to go for 4-tire stop, it looks like here. So Rickoff up on the jack. So seems like a couple of our drivers looking to, shall we say, maybe got some damage fixed and maybe hope to log in a few more laps there. He's going to be sitting in the pits one for a while, though. Likely potentially making a rear wing change as well.
Yeah, I don't think that was Rickoff's issue. Obviously, he's holding his line. He was the outside of the racetrack. Sure, he's going to break a little more. Everybody's been by Rickoff a couple of times. He's obviously had some issues. He had the damage to the rear wing. They know there's limitations of that race car aerodynamically. He had the outside of the track, and really, it just looked to me like Quinn a little too much to the right side of the track. Probably could have stayed more to the inside, or even potentially waited until after that corner. He wasn't really quite close enough. He'll be lucky if he doesn't have any damage on that number 24 machine. But again, let's jump back on board with a guy who's not made a mistake yet, Joshua Chin. Good to have a look at this line for when I get on the sim a little later today to try it, because obviously Joshua Chin and Team Chimera have things handled. Tremendous run so far, 10.9 seconds the lead, Nolan, over his teammate Jamie Wilson as Team Chimera 1 and 2. But what a beautiful lap here for Chin, working his way around this tight circuit.
Indeed, he's still working his way around and still trying to find his way up there, still trying to maintain that lead. And I'll tell you what, he's been doing a phenomenal job so far. Once again, he's got 10.7 seconds separating last time at the line between himself and his teammate, Jamie Wilson. Almost half the track separating him in third place, Lucas Laville, his main title contender the entire season so far. So Joshua Chin has been in absolute complete control over this race right from the get-go when he took the lead in the first couple laps. And he's been doing a phenomenal job. And I think it does show just how much speed that machine has when you lapped the entire field up to third place here.
Well, and think about the amount of focus that he's had to give to this particular run so far, picking his way through. It's not like some other drivers where, like, let's say we take, for example, Robert Grosser battling with Ethan Agan. They were nose to tail for a majority of the race. There was no opportunity so far for Chin to be able to run nose to tail with anybody. Every guy he's coming up to, the closing rates, of course, are pretty significant. He's got that much more speed over everybody in the field, and every lap there's another situation. There's another driver coming up the road that he's going to have to deal with and plan out where he potentially could make that pass. So that's the key. When you're working your way through trying to pass some of these slower cars, you have to plan those overtakes early. Okay, how close am I to him right now? Let's make sure I'm coming and attacking at the right time. Maybe you back off a little early somewhere to be able to get more exit speed as one driver pulls off to the outside of the track. Who's that's gone off? One driver going off further back.
That was Andrew Wood, actually, that
was it? Okay.
Went off the track. Yeah, it was, from 6th place, who went off the track. Actually, that was not even of his own doing. He locked up the brakes and went wide into the sand trap. That's what happened there. So that's all it takes, a little bit of a lockup, and that's going to send you right off and into the sand. And we're going to take a look on board and watch that left front. You're going to watch as the smoke will start to fly here a little bit, and well, he's going to go right off into the sand. Carried way too much speed. Very easy mistake to do. Very good, though, that he did manage to keep that car straight and not nose it into the tire barriers, because there's not a lot of runoff over in turn number 2. So easily could have been a lot worse than it was. Once again, we do still have that our chat raffle open. To enter this raffle, simply write anything in our live YouTube chat, and you will automatically be entered to win a free unlock key for the Virtual Race Car Engineer, which is a piece of software that will help you get a great setup for any car of your choosing here on the iRacing service. It is usable in other platforms as well as real-life racing. It's truly something that's been vetted by professional racers and engineers alike. To enter, once again, just put anything into the chat and be automatically entered to win. Applications are closed after the checkered flag. We will be announcing after the driver interviews later today, prior to the broadcast concluding. The admins will get in touch with you after the race if you win, to hand you your free key for the Virtual Race Car Engineer software. Still a few laps left to go, though. We're getting to that point now. Crunch time is coming up.
Yeah, we'll have pit stops pretty soon, but just one little bit there again on Andrew Wood. We talked about him running P6, just overcooking it into Druids, a little deep onto the brakes, and the car went off into the gravel rather. And I think, again, that speaks to Joshua Chin, how good he's been. Right now, you can see Andrew Wood, the number 32 machine, just that minor little issue. But as that happened, it was right where I was capping off my thought about Joshua Chin and how he has not made even one error. He has not overcooked it anywhere at this point. He's been picking his way through lap traffic, planning out exactly where he wants to make every pass. It's been just an absolute magnificent run for him so far. Not taking anything away from Andrew Wood. P6 right now in what has been a very tough race. He's doing a tremendous job. And again, as I said, we have all those Team Chimera drivers nicely up into the top 7. But again, just a shout out to Joshua Chin for doing everything he had to so far. But as we know, lap 111 in the books, 111 laps in the books. I would expect to see pit stops any time now for the final stop for these drivers. Again, we talked about 59 to 60 laps when you have clear air and a full tank of fuel. Well, Nolan, one stop for a majority of these drivers, especially those up front. We'll see pit stops coming, I would expect, in the next 10 to 15 laps.
Yes, indeed. 10 to 15 laps is sounding about right. We've got a lot of drivers that are mostly between 46 to 50 laps on their stints right now. We saw drivers stretching out to about lap 61 at times prior. So I would say about 10 to 15 laps. That's definitely an accurate guess for sure, to see our pit window starting to open back up again. Definitely not going to be as long pit stops this time because not as much fuel to put into the car. So going to be crucial for a lot of drivers to try to calculate that fuel correctly. You don't want to put too much fuel into the car because that will both bog you down in weight, but it'll also mean you're sitting in the pits for longer. But you got to make sure that you don't underfuel either, because that could also easily end your race if you end up running out of fuel with a few laps to go, which I'll tell you what, it definitely wouldn't be the first time I've seen it. In fact, I've seen drivers underfuel when it isn't even the final stint of the race. I've seen drivers running out of fuel coming into their pit boxes, as a matter of fact, previously in this series as well. So, underfueling, not out of the question. You got to hope, though, that these drivers, they get the right amount of fuel in their cars to make sure that they can make it to the end.
A lot of different components to a success. I don't care if you're outdoor racing or doing it here on the iRacing service, which of course has been such a huge spotlight these past couple of weeks, and an awesome opportunity for so many of us to get back behind the wheel, getting a chance to do some announcing with you as well. Nolan, it's been a pleasure. Again, still a long way to go in this one. First driver, a couple drivers in the pit lane, at least one coming through. Not your leader, Joshua Chin, however, as he continues to run out front. 50 laps remaining. So still quite a ways to go. Andrew Aiken into pit lane in the number 27 machine for the Aero X team. 10th position for Andrew Aiken. Clean stop, and he'll work his way back up the pit road here at Brands Hatch. So first driver to come in and for his final stop of the day is Andrew Aiken. Joshua Chin continuing to lead. And no one, as you had talked about it, a little bit of cushion to the fact that they have lapped everybody up to Robert Grosser in P4. Robert Grosser a lap down as well, as is Ethan Egan. As is Andrew Wood in 6th, Liam Quinn in 7th, Johnny Garrett 8th, Josh Baird in 9th, and Andrew Adair Saunders ahead of Karsten Broadway 10th and 11th. Impressive run to lap that many guys, but again, you got to get a good stop. You can't make a mistake anywhere because this thing is 165 laps. You got to get it done all the way to the checker.
So it seems like some drivers are elected to come in early, and while Andrew Aiken, like we said, was the first driver to come in, he will not have to pit now for the remainder of this race. And still, you got drivers starting to cycle their way through traffic as well, as we go back to Andrew Wood, who, riding on board with him right now, he just made his way past lap cars like Josh Baird, Dario Rikov, Andrew Saunders, and Carson Broadway. If I may, we should look back at that battle for 10th place, because Broadway has closed in the gap big time to the Saunders, and he is right on the gearbox now, right when they are approaching lap traffic. So this could get all sorts of hairy in your battle for what has become 10th place on the racetrack.
I like the fact that these drivers not giving up at all, putting the hammer down, fighting for whatever position they can possibly get. Andrew Adair Saunders has been holding off Karsten Broadway.
Oh no, he's lost it! And Saunders has lost the back end, and he's lost 10th place as a result of this as well. Sorry to cut you off, Rob, but that number 4 machine mistake all on his own, locking up the rear tires and sending that car around.
And pushing so hard to try to keep Broadway at bay, trying to look to get to the inside as well. Man, that was just a late spin, almost like there was contact because he was right there behind him, able to keep the car rolling and gets back on the racetrack, having lost maybe one spot. But otherwise, let's have another look at it as they come up here to Druids. Again, coming into the corner, indeed, spun all by himself, just trying to get the thing woed up and turn, looking to the inside of Rickoff. And yeah, good pickup there. I actually had it on my other screen as well, but you beat me to it, Nolan. What a change in the storyline for Andrew Adair Saunders as he was getting pressured by Karsten. Broadway does lose a spot. France Joseph Stoom also able to get through.
So that's put Andrew Adair Saunders down 2 spots now. This has been absolutely disastrous for him. Now, the question is going to be, can Stoom actually manage to reel his way up and potentially overtake Karsten Broadway up in front of him? Broadway is up into the top 10 now. Likely that's not going to last because, again, we did have Aitken pit early, so these cars do still have to box up ahead of him, so likely he's going to cycle back down to about 11th place if he stays where he's at right now. But he does have Franz Josef Stoom, who might be trying to close in the gap behind him. That gap is 2.3 seconds right now. And another driver is actually trying to get their way into the midst of things as well. He's actually Andrew Aitken, who is actually closing into the back of Andrew Adair Saunders, likely with fresher tires. And all of a sudden, Franz Josef Stoom, pit window is now open. He's down into the lane.
Interesting to see as these drivers working their way into pit lane. As we said, Andrew Aiken's already been in. A number of drivers 4 laps back. Broadway, Stoom, Saunders, and Aiken. They'll all be fighting it out for 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. 4 laps back. 3 laps back to Johnny Garrett and Josh Baird. 1 lap back, Robert Grosser, Ethan Egan, Andrew Wood, and Liam Quinn. Of course, the 3 drivers on the lead lap now. Joshua Chin, Jamie Wilson, and Lucas LaVille. Franz Josef Stoom for Outcast Racing Team. Good stop for him, 11.6 seconds. Going to pack that thing full of fuel because obviously he's got to go to the end here still. There are still 44 laps remaining in a 165 lapper. Nolan, a long way to go still, and of course one more stop from everybody in the top 10.
Liam Quinn also down to the lane, so drivers still coming in for their stops. That was out of 7th place that Quinn has come down. And already he is revving that engine up, getting ready to go. It's only a 9.8 second stop there for Quinn in the number 24 machine. So Quinn having a good go of himself here as well in that number 24 car, trying to extend his, likely trying to maybe short fuel a bit as well, and hopefully make sure that he can get his way to the end as well. Like we said, we're expecting these times to be drop lower and lower as we get further and further into this pit cycle. It was about 11 to 12 seconds was the average pit stop time on the first stop. Well, I don't think we've seen one stop yet that has been over 10 seconds just quite yet. And Robert Grosser from 4th place. He is also down to the lane. That's going to promote Ethan Egan up into 4th place. You reckon if Egan could maybe go for an overcut here?
That's what I want to see, whether or not we get that, because we watched that last stop for Liam Quinn. He was 2 seconds faster on the pit lane than Franz Josef Sturm. You want to get a solid stop here, both the pit lane time and the stop itself. Grosser into pit lane, as you said, short stop for Grosser. 9.9 seconds, actually about a full second off of Liam Quinn in terms of pit stop time, and about 0.5 of a second in terms of total pit lane time as well. So let's see a little bit of a potential opening for Ethan Egan, Nolan, if he's able to get down into an 8-second stop.
Your race leader is also down in the pit lane as well, and he is actually down in the 4th place as well. Did something happen to Joshua Chin? Because he has been in that pit stop for a very long time, 49 seconds in fact. Something happened to Joshua Chin here, and it was not good for sure, because 49 seconds, that is catastrophic for the 93 as he's gone a lap down now. All of a sudden, Lucas LaVille, he's up in the 1st place. What in the world has happened here?
Obviously a shakeup. We didn't see it. He came in indeed a 49-second lap. I was looking for that to reset. What do you got?
He just went into the wall as he came out of the pits as well. So Chin It's all gone wrong for him. This was actually, during the live pictures, this was not to give him that long stop. I'm still confused what happened, but he lost it on the curbing on cold tires, and he's bended hard into the tire barrier head on as well, down over in the final corner, just out of turn number 4. That is just detrimental to Joshua Chin's race. All of a sudden, all that work has been thrown away. We got to see if that will end his race here or not.
We're on board with the replay right now, watching what happened to him as he's working his way down. I guess this is fresh tires coming through turn number 3, Graham Hill Bend. Again, this is the replay with Joshua Chin, who was your leader. He just lost it coming through Surtees. The rear of the car, Nolan stepped out of him through Surtees. The leader has come back down to pit lane. This is the replay, obviously. He came back down pit lane again to change that front wing. I cannot believe we had the issue there. He has been flawless all day long in the Team Chimera number 93. Just a minor issue coming through. Little correction, and the car went off the racetrack and nosed in, left side of the nose. He was able to back it up quickly, but the damage is done right now. Chin back into pit lane, Nolan.
Indeed, Josh Chin had to come down to pit lane to get a front nose change, and he is back up and away. So, absolutely disaster there for Joshua Chin, who's now dropped outside of the top 5. And this is definitely not what he was hoping to see. He was doing such a good job, set for Chimera 1-2, and the Challenger Brands Hatch strikes hard as Joshua Chin now down into 6th place. That is probably one of the worst possible things that could have happened to him, because he does not have nearly enough time to work his way out there. All of a sudden, Jamie Wilson is up into the lead with Lucas Laville just a couple seconds behind now. 2.3 seconds is the gap. We might have ourselves a battle for the lead here all of a sudden, as both drivers have completed their final stops. Laville on 3-lap fresher tires.
Just an update, too, on my other screen, watching Ethan Agan go off over in turn number 3 in Graham Hill Bend. He went 4 wheels off the racetrack, so that's he was running at that point in the 3rd spot. That could allow Chin to get back closer, although Chin, I'm seeing he may still be in pit lane, so this could be it for Joshua Chin. My live timing showing red that he may still be in pit lane. Let's see if we can pick up Chin to see if he's come back out onto the racetrack or not. I think he is on track. I'm being told he's on track, but my live timing not showing me that. We'll pick him back up again. Indeed, there's the number 93 in that 4th position. Again, went 4 wheels off, as I said, coming through turn number 3 all the way over to 4, was able to bring it back on. So some of these drivers having trouble, and man, I'll tell you, Nolan, a chink in the armor. I would not have thought that we were going to see that, but just that little bit of an issue, just that minor mistake for him. He's been almost impenetrable over the last couple of races, but just that little bit of an issue. We'll see how he's able to power his way back forward. Still a number of laps to go. What do we got? 26 laps still to go here. We're not done. We'll see what Joshua Chin can do.
And problems for Jamie Wilson, who ended up colliding with a lap car. Your race leader, Franz Josef Stum, lost it in turn 3, and Jamie Wilson ran over the front left suspension of that race car. He's got front wing damage. This is going to help Lucas Laville to continue to try to close in that gap and get away with the position. This is going to be on board. As we take a look at the replay, this was down to the turn number 3, so we're approaching turn 1 now. There is Stum just up the road ahead of him. A little bit of welcome through turn 1. You're going to see down through turn 2. He's going to be trying to make the look around into turn number 3. Stu was almost like he was trying to give him room and lost the back and all on his own. Right there, steps out, locks up, and there is the contact, and that front wing not healthy at all. Lucas Laville, though, hounded the gearbox. Battle for the lead is on at the closing laps.
I'll tell you, Noel, this is not something we expected. It looked, I think, to both of us like we were going to have a fight, maybe further back for 10th or 11th, being the best one-on-one battle. We now have it for the race lead. An issue by himself for Joshua Chin, puts him on pit lane a couple of times to get that repaired. Now, though, the battle coming down between Lucas Laville and Jamie Wilson. Laville putting all the pressure here, coming through Surtees, up to clearways now. Little look to the inside, climbing back up on top of the curb, rolling back on that throttle. Carried a lot of speed through clearways. Right up here on them as they work their way down the straightaway. It'll be Wilson to the inside. Outside goes Laville, trying to go the outside of Paddock Hill. He holds him down the hill, over onto the Rumbles. Great pass. Can he hold it coming into Druids? He's got the outside line. Again, Nolan side by side through Druids. First and second, Laville, new leader.
Lucas LaVille through to the race lead after nearly making contact with Jamie Wilson on the exit of turn 1. He's still got that draft though to worry about. He's got to try to use turns 4 and 5 here to get that gap pulled out. And as we can look back at our replay to show you how Lucas LaVille took the lead, he's going to manage to hold it down the pit straight. But watch this, around the outside in a turn number 1, that is a move that 9 times out of 10 always ends in disaster. And not this time though. Look at how close that came though to contact right there between LaVille and Wilson. Beautiful driving there from both racers. That's put Lucas LaVille into the lead, and now he's set to run away with it with his rival for the win with front wing damage and dropping back.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Nolan. That was on both of those drivers. A fantastic pass around the outside for Lucas LaVille. Like you said, a very low percentage opportunity to get around the outside like that, but he held it, and Wilson gave him enough room on the inside. Remember, whether or not LaVille knows it, but that front wing damage was going to hinder Wilson coming through that corner. He wasn't going to be able to hold the throttle down as much as he wanted. That was kind of putting him in, to a certain extent, as a sitting duck for the opportunity for LaVille to get by. But a beautiful pass. Wilson gave him room, and now we're seeing LaVille with that 100% race car pull away a little bit. As you said, Jamie Wilson kind of having to limp it a bit there with the damage on the right side of that car. Just a little bit of a contact with one of our slower cars working his way around this racetrack. The leader was Wilson. Hey, for a time it was Joshua Chin. Can't believe how things have changed. We've got 20 laps remaining, or rather 30 laps remaining here, Nolan. I'm flabbergasted because I was sure that this was going to be a Joshua Chin walkaway.
Well, we all thought it was going to be as well. It just didn't end up being that way. They're going to take a ride on board with Andrew Wood as he makes his way around Franz Josef Stum, trying to close in the gap up front to Robert Grosser. That gap was hanging at about 2.4 seconds, and so Andrew Wood clearly not out of the fight yet. He did have a bit of a loose moment off of turn 5 and nearly spun it into the pits, but oh my goodness, and that was a huge tank slapper. That might make safe of the race right there. Have you ever seen a car snap around that quickly and all of a sudden recover from it? My goodness.
Well, and to think the simple fact that we've already seen an issue here before for Joshua Chin. We saw Robert Grosser get all sideways on the exit. That was a tremendous save for Andrew Wood, who continues to run in the 4th spot. Again, one of the Team Chimera drivers trying to see if he can't salvage some good team points here as well. But here's another replay. Just kicking out as he comes through McLaren up over the keyways, but a great save. That car, Nolan, could easily have gone around. And again, he has all those guys behind him. There could have been contact as well.
Oh, absolutely. So, well, not a lot of time left to go in this race. And, well, with less than 30 laps to go, I'll tell you what, this race has flown by. And with the race, have the time that you can apply for the chat raffle going on right now. If you want a free key for the virtual race car engineer software, which will help you tune your setups exactly the way you want them, and in fact build your own personal baseline setup, well, just type something, anything into the race chatter down here in the live chat on YouTube, and you will be automatically entered to win, once again, a free key for the virtual race car engineer software. We've got over a dozen people entered as of right now. We still have time to make it work. Applications are only open until the drop of the checkered flag, so consider this the final call. If you want in, type something into that YouTube chat. Could be literally anything, whether it's about this race or not, and you'll be automatically entered to win. We'll be announcing the winner just before this broadcast ends today. Less than 30 laps to go. Final push of the race is on, and well, I'll tell you what, that battle for third place, I don't think it's quite over yet, but if Andrew Wood's going to have anything for Grosser, he's really going to have to put that hammer down, except maybe not so much that he starts losing that back end again.
Yeah, here's Ethan Agan in that number 20 machine, the independent driver who has had such a good outing here at Brands Hatch. He currently runs in that 5th position, only about 3.6 seconds behind Andrew Wood. Last time by, the laps pretty much similar, 37.3. Actually, that was a lap before, 38.8 or 36.8 rather for Andrew Wood. So he put a really good lap down there. Again, he's trying to see if he can't close up to Grosser. So 3 seconds in front of Wood is Grosser, 3 seconds behind is Ethan Agan. So people kind of holding on to their spots now. Here's the 93 of Joshua Chin. Man, it was just an absolutely perfect run through all the pit stops. In fact, he got his stop done. It was coming out on the cold tires. where he had that minor issue coming through Surtees and ended up nosing it into the wall. So the driver, who has been dominant through the entire day, now a lap back, currently runs in the 6th position, 3.9 seconds behind Ethan Agan, quicker by 7/10 of a second, 8/10 though. We may see a battle here for the top 5. Joshua Chin still on the move, Nolan. We're not quite done here yet, 25 laps to go, and Chin absolutely on the throttle.
Well, going back to that incident as well, if you remember, he was actually already a lap down when he binned it into the wall off of Surtees. Remember, he had a 40-second pit stop, and, well, I did see a couple of rumors floating around, but you gotta wonder, because I looked back and he didn't get into any kind of a crash on track, so potentially a penalty for something, maybe speeding on the entry. Easy thing to do. I mean, you're coming off of these corners going over 150 miles an hour into the pit lane, so it wouldn't entirely be that unexpected, so to speak. So that's the only really thing I can think of that would have hampered Joshua Chin, to give him a 40-second time, because nobody else got even close to that one. But, you know, it's a easy mistake to make.
I must have been off on my timing, because I thought that the pit stop, he had done a pit stop and then came back out and spun, and that's why he had the 49-second pit stop, was to repair. I got myself a little sideways on that there.
Exactly. So it's a very curious situation for Chin, really. I mean, he did have to come down to get that front wing change. Down is one more car going sideways. That's Andrew Aiken, actually, off into the sand, and turn number 1 keeps it out of the tire barriers, but again, looping it all on his own. Looks like the car actually encountered a big tank slapper going into turn 1 and just wasn't able to collect it in time, which is, of course, the casualties of going downhill. You can see he was trying to countersteer that thing all the way through to the apex and just wasn't able to make it work, but good job to keep that out of everybody else and out of the wall.
Yeah, right in front of Joshua Chin as well. He was the driver that was following Aiken there, was able to slip through. Look at the lap times again. This last time by, a 37.2 for Chin. He had to get off it there. 37 flat for Ethan Agan. Still 3.1 seconds between 5th and 6th. This Chin trying to fight his way back forward as the laps are winding down. 22 laps remaining in this event here in the Classic IndyCar Series program. Back on board with Andrew Wood, P4, as he works his way through clearways, trying to see if he can't close up on Robert Grosser. 2 seconds between 3rd and 4th, Grosser in the number 3 and Wood in the 32. That may be a battle that we're still going to keep watching here. This last time by, Andrew Wood about a half second faster than Robert Grosser. He'll slip by the 68 now, Johnny Garrett, trying to work his way through some lap cars here, Nolan, but there is Grosser about 2 seconds up the way. Again, you can tell that Wood's starting maybe to get a little bit frustrated trying to get through some of these lap cars. There is an opportunity for him to get onto the podium in 3rd.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of time. You got to remember that as well. Andrew Wood, he's only got it's going to be 21 laps to go at the line to get things done. So he knows he doesn't have a lot of time, and he needs to find some way to reel his way in there, and he is still closing in to Robert Grosser up in that 3rd position. Wood has already worked up 10 spots from where he started. That gap is still very much closing, so battle is definitely not out of the way yet. One other battle that's closing, Ethan Aiken and Joshua Chin. That's the battle for 5th place. Chin less than a second and a half away now, and he is closing in fast.
Yeah, look at that lap time, Nolan. The fast lap of the race, I believe, too. He just did a 36.172. I think that's fast lap of the race. Excellent run for him as he's starting to turn things up here again. Chin trying to get by Ethan Agan. That would be for the 5th spot. We're on board with him now in that number 93 machine. 2 times a winner already this year on the Oval at Auto Club Speedway, followed up with another win on the Oval at Phoenix International. Was hoping to put a road course victory in the books here today at Brands Hatch with those issues that he had that we've talked quite a bit about there right before or after that pit stop. He's now closing up on Egan. That's going to be for 5th position. We're watching a battle for 3rd and 4th as well. But Joshua Chin for Team Chimera, the number 93, starting to put the pressure here now on Ethan Egan.
Flicking their way left and right through the corners, just driving right on the edge. Joshua Chin driving it right out to the edge of the racetrack. And now he is within the slipstream. He might pounce here down into Druids if he could get a good run through the Paddock Hill bend, down the hill to turn 1, but he's going to run wide and clip the sand for Joshua Chin. So he's not going to get the run that he needed. Potentially making a move into Surtees would be my guess, as taking one look back, and there you can see Chin running off into the grass, and now still all over that gearbox, still not able to get close enough to make the move through Surtees or through the Clark curve. He's got one more time. He can maybe have another go here to turn number 1 or 2, but he's really got to nail that line through turn number 1 because that's where he lost some time last time through. They're both going to be deep on the brakes for 1, and again running wide even more this time, but this time not going to run it off into the sand. So Joshua Chin starting to make a few more mistakes here. It's really costing him in this battle for position.
He looks like it's a bit better coming through Druids as well as they work their way down into turn number 3. He's able to get close to within maybe a length and a half. But again, it seems like those last 2 laps, he kind of tried to throw it in a little bit to Paddock Hill to see whether or not he was going to be able to get that good run down the hill to Druids. They'll get to the inside now, Rikoff into the number 99. There's more slow cars up front, which could make things very interesting as well. Little update on Grosser and Wood. It's still a 1.5 seconds advantage for Robert Grosser as the 3rd place runner. Lucas Laville, his Vortex Sim Racing teammate, continues to lead by 8.6 seconds. But back on board here with Ethan Agan out the rear wing. And you can see as Josh Chin putting all the pressure on here in that number 93. Up and over the curb as they do each time coming on to the Cooper Straight at turn number 3. Chin throwing everything he can at Egan, but has not yet pulled the trigger. Here's a big run coming out of Clearways. Nolan, that's what you got to do. You got to get the run coming up the Radman Straight if you want to take him over to turn 1.
This is, again, one of those cases where catching is one thing, passing is another. He's caught him. He just needs to find a way to pass him. And this is so difficult to do right now. Both deep on the brakes and oh so close to the rear wing in the gearbox. Chin trying to go for an over-under, trying to dime it off that corner, and still trying to find a way out there through turn number 3. Just isn't able to find the speed he needs to make it work. It's really just something else entirely about how this battle is starting to develop. Now, can Joshua Chin try to pounce down the Brabham Straight? Still not able to make it work. Egan really doing a great job hanging on to that top 5 spot, but you gotta think it's only a matter of time.
Well, I think this is kind of talking a bit about the character of this racetrack as well. It is so hard to pass, especially when cars are pretty evenly matched. And right now, I think we're seeing that Chin's a bit faster, but just not at the right places. He's got to be able to make the move coming out of Clearways, and that's the issue right now. Potential front wing damage, the left side of the car. You can see the circle there. So a little bit of aggression. I saw that coming out of turn 2, tucked up right underneath the right rear. Will that hurt? Oh, a little bit of exit oversteer coming out of the corner. No one, he'll have to check up for sure. A little blip of the throttle. Wise one for Chin. He'll close back up here into Paddock Hill again. So close to trying to find a way by, but that little bit of wing damage is going to hurt him in Paddock Hill Bend. You're trying to carry so much speed through that corner.
He's got to try to capitalize as much as he can on the other portions of the track, which he is definitely doing in full right now. The gap down to just a second now for that battle for 3rd place as well. Now under a second, actually, as Robert Grosser still losing time to Andrew Wood. So we're going to have a battle on for a podium position here as well before this one is all said and done. Closing in into the final 10 to 12 laps here in this race. This not a lot of time left at all to make something work. Grosser still struggling to hang on to that final podium position, but he is losing spots fast. It's, again, one of those cases where it's only a matter of time before the pass is completed. Question is there going to be enough time to make something work in both of the battles we got on track right now?
Yeah, just over 10 laps to go in this one. As you had mentioned, Nolan, we got a couple of great battles now. Andrew Wood and the Team Camaro number 32 starting to put some pressure, a little bit of pressure, let's say, on Robert Grosser. He's got to within a second, and you know Grosser knows that. He sees how close he's getting. He'll have a spotter telling him what he's got for a gap. Again, through Paddock Hill Bend, that big downhill run. They'll both go to the outside there, try to use as much of the racetrack as possible. Back up the hill, and that's key to Druids because the uphill run makes it for a shorter braking zone, so you don't have that long break to try to potentially get by a guy and kind of modulate that break to complete the pass. Here's a replay of the scrap here now between Chin, I believe. Yeah, Joshua Chin. Look at this fight. Here's Chin. If we miss a pass, here he is to the inside. To the move to the inside of Paddock Hill, Chin takes advantage of a slower lap car. Nolan, that was a tremendous pass for Joshua Chin.
Well, not just that, but you saw he was crowding Ethan Agan right to the outside line, trying to put him off the camber for the apex, and he did that perfectly. Watch as Chin will crowd him right up to that white line, not let Agan get down there at all, and that has given him a lot of a gap to work with there for Joshua Chin. So great pass indeed. A good technique to hound that car to the outside to make sure he couldn't get the run on him around the outside. Now the only battle we got left that needs to be settled on track realistically is that battle for 3rd place between Andrew Wood and Robert Grosser.
I like that what you said there, Nolan, because that was exactly it. It was an aggressive move to keep egging to the outside, but it was absolutely textbook. He can't turn in if you're still out there. So there was no way there was going to be an over-under because Chin was holding him pinned to the outside, then released and went down the hill into the exit point. That was a beautiful pass for Chin. Took a little advantage of the lap car, but was able to get through cleanly. We are under 10 laps to go. In fact, 9 laps remaining in this 165 lapper. Andrew Wood continues to try to chase down Robert Grosser. Last time by, both drivers turning 36.8 second laps, so no clear advantage in terms of speed, about 0.6 of a second between the third and fourth place running drivers. You can see visually how close Andrew Wood is. There are a couple of lap cars a little further up, one for sure. Grosser is going to have to get by that car again, deep on the brakes. Good one there for Andrew Wood. Nolan, he continues to push here with a handful of laps remaining.
Less than 10 to go, just 8.5 laps remaining in this race as Wood still trying to close in that gap, still having about 0.6 of a second. Like you said, no clear advantage just yet. This is going to be a battle that might come down to traffic management and how do the lap cars come into play. Andrew Aiken is the only car right now that's up the road. He's the only lap car they're actually going to catch before the end of this race. So all Grosser's got to hope is that Aiken lets him through and makes it easy for him to pull away from Andrew Wood. In fact, they're both going to go up the inside into turn 2. Aiken running way deep and way slow as well, letting them both through immediately. So now, no more lap traffic in the way. Andrew Wood, it's a heads-up battle now between him and Grosser to the end.
Yeah, let's have a look at this because Andrew Wood, we're going to see this. Wood takes full advantage of it. He is not going to get stuck behind the lap car and throws it up the inside. Aiken stays to the outside. You can see a little bit of a brake lockup for Andrew Wood because he did not want to get caught behind. He knew he had to get through there as well, and he was able to get the job done. But back on board with Andrew Wood again. Here's that replay. Look how far back he is. He knows it, but he's going to throw it up in there and does so. That was a crucial move if he's going to have the opportunity to go at Grosser here over the last couple of laps. There's still about 6 or 7 laps remaining. But before we watch these guys, because it's going to get good here in the end, we know that, Nolan. How about Lucas Laville? Here's a guy that ran 3rd spot for majority of the race behind a couple of Team Chimera cars, and all of a sudden, he's in a 16.3 second advantage. It just proves you can never, ever give up in terms of where you're running, because he was 13, 14 seconds back. You never know how the storyline's going to play out.
Absolutely, and you know, the storyline's definitely developed for sure. I mean, we thought Laville would have to settle for the final podium position, but all of a sudden he's going to be coming away with the win, and if he's not going to take the race, the points lead after today's race, he's certainly going to close it back in, which is exactly what he was wanting to see. And Andrew Wood losing a bit more time after he ran a bit wide on the exit of turn 3, and that lost him about half a second alone there, so it's 1.1 seconds now separated the two, now already closing back into 9/10. Andrew Wood, I think he's in the mindset now where it's either full send or nothing. You're in the final 5 laps of the race. If you want to go, now is the time to go.
I have to agree with you on that, Nolan. Again, he comes into this event sitting 3rd in points, 82 markers. He's got 13 ahead. Here's Chin getting his way through another one of the slower cars a little bit further back, but he's 13 points ahead of Robert Grosser. This would allow him to stretch out the points as well here a little bit. But again, as the lap's starting to wind down, we're expecting to see a great battle. Chin continues to work his way forward. He now is in the 5th position after passing Egan. It was going to be a win for Joshua Chin, but it's not going to play out that way, even though he continues to try to close up here on his teammate over the last couple of laps. You can see how much he's taken out of them. 2/10 a lap, 2/10 a lap, 0.8 of a second the lap in the last time by. Fastest lap of the race was the last lap, 36.156. He is putting on a show at the end, trying to grab more points.
Yeah, for sure, Joshua Chin is definitely trying to get as many points as he can. Andrew Wood still closing into Robert Grosser. That gap just half a second now and still closing. Wood is all over the back end, still doesn't have a lot of time to make something work. They are going to catch more lap traffic. Dario Rikhoff just up the road. They're going to catch him entering turn 1 here, so this could potentially hamper Robert Grosser unless he can get his way through. It is going to hold him up. This is good for Andrew Wood. That's above it. Oh no! That's going to take Grosser around as Rikhoff spins, and that is not the way we wanted to see the battle for 5th place end at all. Just as sudden as it was starting up, Robert Grosser might very well be out of the race.
Let's have a replay look at this. Tough one there as Rikhoff on the outside trying to hold on, loops it, makes contact with Grosser. Some pretty significant left side damage. Not only does Andrew Wood get through, but Joshua Chin got through as well, as did Ethan Egan. So Robert Grosser was third. He's fallen down to sixth. And that's the replay again. Hisco on board with Rickoff. He's just trying to keep the car to the outside, but it releases on him. Oh, you never want to see that. Rickoff's been staying out of trouble. 14th in the order, just trying to stay out of trouble, Nolan. Laps winding down, a couple more to go.
The second he touched that AstroTurf, that car just shot around like a rocket. Right there. The very instant he touched that green, false turf, that car was going around and there was no recovering it. And that is such a shame for Grosser. Wrong place, wrong time. But final lap is out. It's going to be Lucas Laville, who's right now through turn number 2. The battle's still on, though, now between Andrew Wood and Joshua Chin for the final podium position. Laville, though, off of turn number 3, has just got a couple more corners to go through turn 4. Now, final braking zone for turn number 5 of the Clark curve. He's going to be off and away. It's a surprise victory and a huge upset here at Brands Hatch. Lucas Laville takes victory here at Brands Hatch. Jamie Wilson going to be bringing home in second place, no doubt. And Andrew Wood going to hang on. Can Joshua drag race him out? No, he can't. Joshua Chin made the look to the outside off the gearbox, but was not able to find the gap he needed to make it work. And that is going to conclude what was a very thrilling race. And also, just like that, applications for our chat raffle are now closed. No more entrants are going to be accepted. And this is the replay of Chin trying to out-drag that third place car of Andrew Wood, but just was not able to make it to the podium position. But my goodness, though, that was something else.
Yeah, what a crazy surprise finish. Obviously, Robert Grosser was doing what he could to try to hold off a charging Andrew Wood. You knew the pressure was coming. We saw that the lap car of Dario Rickoff. Kind of slow coming up the straightaway, and you got to expect it was the right move for Grosser. He didn't dive down the bottom. He didn't make a low percentage move. Just get out of that corner, get back on the throttle with a couple laps to go, and Rickoff losing control on the outside after he crossed the rumbles. The car rotated on him right back into the middle of the racing line. I feel bad for Robert Grosser. He actually went to pit lane, ends up, I believe, 3 laps down, but he was far enough ahead of everybody behind him. He still ends up in the 7th position, but not the 3rd spot I think that he was hoping for. Otherwise, Lucas Laville, though, another great victory for him. We've had 2 winners this year, Nolan. The ovals, all Joshua Chin. Road courses, all Lucas Laville. So Vortex Sim Racing gets the victory. Jamie Wilson in the 2nd spot, as you said, and Andrew Wood and Joshua Chin. Pretty good ending there. I thought Chin was going to get him. Came up just short.
Yes, indeed. So, oh my goodness. I think at this point in time, we can carry things over to your post-race results. And, it's going to be Lucas Laville to take victory here in today's race, with Jamie Wilson, the only other car finishing on the lead lap. Andrew Wood kicks it off in 3rd place after out-dragging Joshua Chin on the final lap. Ethan Agan rounds out the top 5 with Liam Quinn 6th place. Robert Grosser 7th. Josh Baird 8th. Andrew Aitken 9th. Karsten Broadway, birthday boy, picking up 14 spots to get himself a top 10 finish. That's going to be a good present for him today. Johnny Garrett down in 11th. Franz Josef Stum in 12th. Andrew Adair Saunders 13th, Jerry Rickoff 14th, Logan Simmons 15th, Caleb Weekly 16th, Jack Turner 17th, Randy Shoemake 18th, Niall McBride 19th, Tristan Hauser 20th, Art McEwen 21st, Jan Hoffman 22nd, Ryan Hellier 23rd, Jos Vandeven 24th, Marshall Stanley 25th, Hans Pickenen 26th, with Timo Isunimi rounding out the 27-car field for today.
Interesting, I think, when you look at the championship standings, of course, Nolan, as Wilson, Wood, and Laville will all take a bit out of the lead that Chin had coming into this particular event. So tightening things up before we head to Zolder for the next event at the end of the month. Bottom line is, it's a storyline that we talked about. Lap traffic was going to play a part in what we were going to see today. Surprising the way it kind of shook down, because I think it looked to me, to you as well, probably everybody watching, Joshua Chin had things handled, but definitely a pretty wild finish, of course. And you never know what's going to happen. Lucas Laville, of course, though, coming home with a pretty impressive victory.
Well, it was a very, very chaotic start for sure. I mean, that was to be expected at a track that's just this tight. And it was really just something else, to say the very least. So I'll tell you what, it's been a very good race. And well, I think while we're waiting for a couple drivers to show up, we may as well announce the winner here for our little chat raffle. So Rob Howard, if you could do the honors and just give me a quick little drum roll here as we spin the wheel and see just who is going to come away with the victory for today in our raffle. The wheel is spinning, and it happens to end up on a spare space that I did not fill with the name. I had it set for somebody else. So, well, let me give it a second. We're going to do a respin here.
Respin it.
Now let's hopefully see that we'll land this on an actual name from one of the actual winners. It's going to be Wolken Jager, who is going to come away with a free key for the virtual race car engineer. Once again, that is Wolken Jager, WOLKENJAEGER from the YouTube chat. You have just won yourself a free key for the virtual race car engineer. Congratulations. You'll be having the admins no doubt giving you a little message here shortly, and they will be delivering that key to you, however means you see fit. So, congratulations on taking the winner for the raffle, and with this in mind, it would seem that it is time for us to bring a couple of the drivers up to give us a little bit of a chit-chat here, and I think, well, it doesn't seem that there's a whole lot of drivers around, and we may as well kick things off then with one of the drivers who we did not have let's actually kick this off here with our third place finisher for today, Andrew Wood, working your way up 11 spots. So Andrew, oh my goodness, it was definitely a chaotic one. Congratulations though on coming away with a podium position at the end of all that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That was pretty stressful, but just it's all about just keeping a good mental state and waiting for things to come to you and minimizing your mistakes.
Well, indeed, minimizing mistakes is definitely the key factor as well. And, well, it's a bit of a surprise move that you were to come away with that podium position. I mean, we were thinking you would be fourth place at the very best, with Joshua Chin, though, having his issues elsewhere, putting him on your lap. Man, you managed to outdrag him throughout the final stretch there, so that is what helped you get that final podium position, no doubt. But well, walk us through this race at Brands Hatch, because it's definitely a very tight track, very technical, and no doubt it couldn't be an easy race.
Yeah, by no means was it easy at all. My qualifying was not what I wanted it to be. I was a little bit bummed about where I was starting, putting myself right in the mix of potential drama and bad situations and such. So my aim for the first part of the race was just to kind of be careful and tread through any carnage and such, and it managed to work out for me to start with. And then it was phase two was to try to just get a rhythm going and, see where your pace kind of lies and, see what kind of happens around you, what the traffic's like. And then phase three towards the end there was really start to pound away some good laps. And I started ripping off a bunch of personal bests towards about 2/3 of the way through the race and really starting to push and see what I could do to catch Ethan and Robert up ahead of me. I definitely felt like I was faster than them, but I kept making tiny mistakes or getting stuck on the wrong side of traffic that really didn't maximize my ability to get up to them faster. But after the last pit stop, I really was just going full-fledged, just, full paced and, making a couple mistakes here and there, but really just kind of trying to reel it in there.
We believe it's Zolder that's going to be coming up next, which is, again, another road course over in Belgium. What do you think about that racetrack? Think you'll be able to carry some momentum from what ended up being a podium finish for you and hopefully get another good finish result going into that next race?
Actually, I don't think I've ever raced on that track before, so I'm going to need to put in a lot of practice for me to be anywhere near the pace that I need to be to, go back-to-back podiums here. But, I got a great team of guys behind me, and they're all very supportive, and, we help each other out a lot. And, today was just another episode of that where, we just all did what we could to get the most amount of points, and I know that will be carried over to next week as well.
Well, definitely a great result for you after, like you said, not the best qualifying that you were hoping to have, but still, it all worked out in the end for you coming away with that third place finish after working your way up 11 spots. And before we let you go here, who helps you get it done for that number 32 car?
Yeah, big shout out to Robert and Lucas and everybody who's in charge of this league. This was going to be a bit of a tough race to run, but we forged through it, and there were some bumps along the way, but we got through it. So congrats to them for organizing a great league. This is a lot of fun. I'm having a really great time here. Thanks to RaceSpot, of course, for broadcasting. You guys always put on a great show, so I can't wait to watch this one back. And of course, can't leave out the Team Chimera guys. Josh, Liam, Niall, Jamie. We all work really hard for setting up this race and trying our best to strategize how we can get through this. And I think we were pretty successful today, and we maintained the team points lead. So shout out to those guys as well.
That was Andrew Wood, third place, coming away today after starting down in 14th. Definitely a very good finish. So thank you, Andrew, for taking the time to join us today.
Yep, thanks a lot, guys.
And with this, let's actually move things over to your race winner for today, Lucas Laville, coming away with a very surprising and definitely an upset win today. Rob Howden, you're standing by with him.
Lucas, congratulations on an awesome day. I'd have to say that the storyline kind of changed for you, and I want to kind of get your input and walk us through when you think things kind of changed out for you, because it looked to me early on you were kind of settling into third, and maybe a podium position was probably the best you were going to expect from the day.
Yeah, exactly. I'm as surprised as you are. I wanted to stay up with him and battle, but that didn't happen. So I settled very early for P3 and didn't push at all. I was very safe. And I don't know what happened, but there was a second bloodbath after the start, like the first one at the start and a second one after the second stop. And people crashed out all of a sudden. Like, I think Josh spun, and then someone spun in front of Jamie. And all of a sudden I was the second fastest car on the track and first by 15 seconds. And I'll take it. I mean, that's nice for sure, but that's a very weird win. That's one way to look at it for sure.
You know, it looked to me like, and obviously everybody watching, that Josh kind of had things handled. You know, I was turning great lap times, but just a minor error coming through Surtees where he spun and got into the barrier. Can you talk about how treacherous this track is in terms of having to dance kind of the razor's edge? Because it seems to go super quick here. You're hanging it out all the time. Is that indeed the case? Is a mistake just around any corner?
Oh yeah, for sure. If to be quick, you have to push 110% all the time here, and the car is on, as you said, on razor's edge, on the throttle, on corner exit, and that's where you found these couple of tenths, the 3 tenths you need per lap to be at the front, and that's where Josh had the edge all day. And he was clearly the fastest guy on the track. I mean, the lap times he put at the end were just mind-boggling. Qualifying pace for 20 laps after his mistake on pit entry. But yeah, I mean, you can find a safe pace like I did, but to be up front, you need to be at Josh's level and to push all the time. That's for sure.
Indeed. And obviously, one of the things we talked about from the start of the broadcast, too, we knew how lap traffic was going to play into how the race was going to unfold. How did you find your lap traffic? And a number of other drivers, including your teammate Robert Grosser, who got taken out on the final circuit, will probably have a different comment on that. But how did you find lap traffic today?
No, I was lucky. I'll take it that way. I didn't have too much issues apart from the same person that took out Robert, I guess. We discussed it a little bit post-race, but yeah, race control will be very busy. I can tell you that already, with all the incidents and the blue flag rules and some of the traffic.
Well, Lucas, your 10th win in the Classic IndyCar Series, second this year. You won both road courses after the victory at Sebring. Who do you want to thank today? I know there's a lot of guys that work on making sure you guys have good setups week in and week out.
Yeah, big thanks to Robert for the set this week. Once again, the bullet for me. It didn't work really well for him, pace-wise, but it's his hard work that's paying off as always, so massive shout out to him. Big thanks to all the guys in the league that keep supporting us through light and dark, and I don't know about today, but I feel like seeing the standings at the end and so many people that crashed out early, it's not too good of a show. And I want to give a final shout out to you guys for, I'm sure once again will be a great broadcast. I don't know if you're going to be with us next for the next race, Rob, but with the real life racing coming back on. But if you are, it will be a joy to have you working with us. It's absolutely great this season.
Well, Lucas, I appreciate it. You know what? The way my schedule is shaken down, it might not be till the IndyCar drivers get back on the road at Road America at the end of June. So I've got a couple more races. Hopefully I can be with you guys for Zolder and Belle Isle as well, because I'd love to see it. I'm really enjoying what you guys are doing. And once again, congratulations on race number 2, your second win of the year. Well done.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a good one.
Well, Nolan Lucas Laville, obviously putting his name in the championship hat. He wants to look at the points, as we all do. It's going to be interesting to see how much closer he gets to Joshua Chin before we head to Zolder. But the bottom line is, you can hear it in his voice. He was kind of surprised with the way things shook down, but nonetheless, a tremendous run for Lucas today.
Absolutely a tremendous run from him. And well, we've got one more driver that has come up to give us a little bit of a chat today. And this one finishing a bit lower down the order. Andrew Adair Saunders joins us here now. Worked his way up 9 spots. He came home 13th place, 6 laps down. Andrew, definitely probably wasn't the best day for you, but still, how do you feel after the 165 laps is said and done with?
Exhausted. I can put that into a single word.
Well, I can definitely imagine why you feel exhausted. I know a lot of the drivers are probably feeling the exact same way. Brands Hatch, as we've already discussed a couple times, is definitely one of the more difficult tracks. It's just so hard to make passes. And when you're trying to battle with other cars and you got the leaders diving their way through, no doubt that doesn't make it easy either. How is it looking from your end throughout the whole race today?
Well, extremely hard to pass because you barely have enough leeway to get enough of an overlap to pass several guys that can get into your nerves, and it just comes down to have nerves of steel to not make any mistakes. I would have had P11 if I had those nerves. Sadly, Johnny Garrett and Franz Josef Stumm at the end were able to pass me because of my mistake at the end there. I don't remember which lap it was, but it was near the end.
Well, despite the complications, you did still come away with a decent finish compared to where you started. You started down in 22nd place, and you did manage to come away in the top half of the field, so up to 13. So, of course, we do have Zolder coming up as well. I can imagine, though, when it comes to Zolder, which granted is a lot more of an easier track to race at, I can imagine that you're going to be looking to maybe get into the top 10 then for race number 5.
That's sadly wishful thinking from my end, because the only real reason I am at P13 or possibly P11 if I had made that mistake is because it was a race of attrition today. A lot of more capable guys have dropped out. I will, with my colleagues at Race Control, we'll have a lot of work ahead of us as well.
Well, it may be wishful thinking, but hey, you have to start somewhere when it comes down to it. And well, before we let you go then for today, anybody else that you would like to shout out? Who helps you get it done at that number 4?
Well, first of all, Logitech, DRE, and Placey for the products that I use. Also, shout out to iconic sponsors, Open Wheels, New Centric, Dynamic Solutions, and I hope I got them all. And one shout out have to make. I remember that at the Fontana race, someone said that the quality of drivers in terms of competitors is a bit lower than last year. Considering where he finished, I recommend him to look at himself first before making such statements.
Well, my goodness. So definitely words to take to heart as well indeed. So thank you, Mr. Saunders, for taking the time to join us for today. Well, better luck next week.
Thanks.
And well, with that, I think, Rob, that's about everything for today's race. Of course, we do have that Belgian Grand Prix coming up next time over in Zolder. Final thoughts from you before we close for tonight.
Well, you know what? It kind of played out the way we expected to a certain extent. We knew that I used the term short track. It seemed like it was going to be a short track road race for us. There was going to be some banging. There was going to be a bit of bumping because it's so hard to pass here. And we definitely saw a lot more contact than I think we probably expected, although maybe knew some was going to be coming. It was that big change in the middle. It just seemed like Joshua Chin had things absolutely handled. A little hiccup midway through or late in the race there that kind of changed the entire storyline. But what it has done is kind of paved the way for a very interesting run when we do get to Zolder on May the 31st. That's the next round of the Classic IndyCar Series. I look forward to joining you again for that one. The championship's going to be exciting. Chin had this big lead. It's going to get shrunk down with Laville's win. Andrew Wood getting closer as well. Grosser and Wilson. Everything tightening up before we go to the next event. So should be a good one for sure. I look forward to it. And let's all cross our fingers that we're able to get some real life racing going as well.
Well, another race of the VRCE Classic IndyCar Series is in the books. This has been one more thrilling race, but sadly it is time for us to close. I have been Nolan Rempel, helping present today's presentation with Rob Howden as my partner here in the commentary box, and Will Vincent down in the producer's chair. Thank you for joining us here on RaceSpot TV on the iRacing Esports Network. Once again, it has been a thrilling one. We'll see you guys all on May 31st for the Belgian Grand Prix.